No, 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 no! Ah!
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Welcome to CoCoTALK episode 285. Today is a bunch of Coco potpourri.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Well, hopefully the voiceover was better this week, because last week it seemed to be kind of muted.
We didn't hear anything.
Oh, you know what? It's possible you guys didn't, because I had it turned off on Zoom,
Ah, okay.
so it wouldn't split the signal and get all.
But you were
Yeah.
saying something.
Well, my lips were moving anyway. Oh, let's see. Who we got going on here? Okay. Today we have in the upper left-hand corner, Tim.
Why am I first?
I don't know why. That's where Zoom put you.
Hey, everybody.
You weren't even the first one on Zoom, so I'm not sure why. So next over, we got Rick Euland.
Howdy, folks. Tim, you were first, so I didn't have to be. Thank you.
And Marco.
Yo, glad to be here as usual.
And yours truly. Next row, Ron Delvo.
Hold on. Who was you? Who's you truly? Shirley? Is that you, Shirley?
Yeah. Don't call me Shirley. So I think we got a wave out of Ron.
Yes, you did. Happy.
All right. Next over, L. Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
And next over with the Game On Challenge, Sloopy.
Greetings.
And long lost Rick Adams.
Hello there. Who's gonna come see all of us at Cocoa Fest? So we shall see.
Okay. And next row, we have a black cat for Halloween, otherwise known as Ken.
Good day, everybody.
Let's see. Next over, Grant Lee.
Hey, everybody. I'm supporting the Hellfire Club shirt, if anybody knows what that came from.
Major things.
Yep.
All right. Next up, David Ladd, the master of the floppy.
Why, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on CoCoTALK this weekend. We're not sure what we're doing for 100% sure, like normal, so please stay a while. Get comfy, because you never know how long we'll go.
I know.
Okay. Next over is Alan.
Yeah, what Dave said.
Okay.
Just not quite as exuberantly.
Let's be creative.
All right. Next row, Nick Marentes.
Is that my cue to wake up?
It is, and stand by.
All right. Good day, everyone.
Last but not least, James Diffendeffer.
Hello, and David, you can just say hello, you know.
Oh, no, he can't.
No, he can't. He's not physically capable. And Mark, before we get on to our headlining thing, we should probably, because we've been skipping it the last while, just mention everybody who signed up in chat here, because there's actually a fair number of people in there.
Yeah, looks like J.E. Jones has got a new monitor. Yes, they can help you read things.
Yeah, Mikey's in there.
Let me scroll back up here.
Kevin Holloway's in there. Mark Siegel's in there.
Jim Rye.
Pixie Kieran's in there. Jim Rye's in there. Tom Eric Gunderson's in there.
It's hard to keep up with everything all at once. I'm just doing good to keep a signal going.
Franklin Harris from Retro Rewind's in there.
Yeah.
Look, Tim, it's AJ.
Uh-oh.
AJ's in the chat.
She's coming to make sure you behave, Tim.
Right. Uh-oh.
As an older sister would.
Yeah, always keeping tabs on me.
Wait, is that AJ or other AJ? Because it looks like Shinley.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that's
you may be
more
right.
likely.
Oh, you're right.
All right. We officially have too many AJs in our community.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a question I never thought would be posed.
All right. So it's been confirmed it's not your sister.
Woo.
Ah, Shinley. Someone's here for game on.
Okay, I think first up, we have a update from Nick Marentes.
Hey,
Yeah.
right off the
Project
bat.
update. Go, Nick.
Okay, well, my game, I posted a video up on YouTube. My game, Jumping Joey, now has reached the final game testing stage. So, as I promised last week, I'll have a video to show on the show today. So I'll just queue it up. Give me a moment to
you can share.
make sure the technology works. Okay, you got a wonderful black screen now.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, well that's it. That's the game.
Continuing to set your high standards, I see.
That's
Black
it.
screen
So
madness.
it's better. It's got less errors than the last one because the dots are more black, so you can't see the errors.
Yeah, you've always complained. You always wanted games with black borders. This is the
nightmare.
biggest black border I've
Black
ever seen
borders and every other color black. So that's the game.
So it's
here
it's a tactile feedback game. You got to feel your way through the maze.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so
Resolution's incredible.
8 shades
here's
of
the
black.
video. Give me a thumbs up if it's working.
The video's working. There we go.
There's the audio.
Name that Aussie tune.
Jumping
Do
Joy
I know
theme song.
that?
No, I'm just kidding.
Tie me kangaroo down.
That's it, by that famous guy who's currently in prison. So it's basically a rehashed Frogger, and I just replaced the frog for a kangaroo, and I took it a little bit further. I added that extra screen that's there. Each of the screens in Frogger has everything all on one screen, but because I'm using such a low res, it's hard to squeeze it all in. So I've spread it over, 2, and then I added that extra screen. So that's the first one there, the highway thing.
So Nick, can you drop the volume some so we can hear you better?
Gee, how do I do that? Yeah, I think I can.
Just on YouTube there, yeah. There you go.
Like that better?
50% better.
Do you want it lower?
It's good.
No, that's fine. We can hear you better now.
Okay, yeah. So this is the extra screen. I'll just pause it so that it waits for me. So this screen is the extra screen I added. It's called it's the stockyard, and the brown characters are cows, and the white are sheep. And you just got to get across, similar to the freeway scene. except there's fences in the middle, which are moving. So you just got to.
As they do.
As they do, yeah.
I got to
So
visit Australia and see all these wondrous things like moving fences I've never seen before.
Yeah, moving fences. That's right. And then that continues on to the final scene, which is the river scene. You've got the turtles, the logs, the crocodiles. There is a snake that pops up on later rounds. And that's it, just loops back. Now, you've got 6 frogs that you've got to get across to the other side into their little homes at the top of the screen. So on each level, you've got to complete it essentially 6 times. And then it goes to the next level where things go, well, things change. The layout changes a little bit. The speed on some things change. And I've got background music playing. I picked 3 Australian folk songs, I guess. So I don't know if people recognize it. What's that?
So,
That's
so at what stage does the falcon come down and snatch you up?
The falcon. There's no. Was there?
I don't think a falcon can pick up a kangaroo.
No, we're a bit bigger.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, it's just a joey, right?
Well,
they're still pretty big.
It's bigger than a frog. So, as you can see, a lot of color on the screen. I wanted this to be a color computer game, so trying to make it differentiate it from a lot of other games. It uses semi-graphics 12 mode.
Nick, we have a question from Mike Miller in the chat, and I think he was one of the guys at the Dragon meetup last week. Any chance of tweaked wavetables for the PAL machines so that the 50 hertz plays the correct tones?
Or
are you just going to pitch shift it down a little bit?
Yeah, I'm just running the one NTSC version. Mind you, my music is a little bit out of tune anyway, so music's not exactly my specialty. So it is a bit out of tune anyway on NTSC as well. It's a technical reason why it is. Yeah, my routines aren't very high precision on the frequencies and notes, solely because all these background tunes, I mean, apart from the fact that the music is playing in real time while the game is playing, this is all being done on a regular CoCo. So it's running at 0.89 megahertz, not the CoCo 3's higher speed. So trying to get the background music playing while the game's playing at half the clock rate, that was a
and no programmable timer either.
No timer either. So I'm using Simon's trick whereby you make the code skip and interrupt, horizontal interrupt, because we've got 14K horizontal interrupt speed, which is too high. So I needed something around the 7-8 kilohertz mark. So basically, I had to halve the number of interrupts, and of course, the way to do that is to make the IRQ routine go a little bit over a horizontal interrupt cycle. That way, forcing it to skip one, and then the remaining time is what you've got to do the game.
Everything else.
Yeah, so it comes out fairly quick. So I was surprised actually that it even works at this rate, for that matter.
Yeah, because literally, you're taking more than half the CPU time just to service the H-Sync to do the sound, and then you're using like 48% of the CPU time to do graphics, AI, gameplay, reading joysticks, and everything else. Yeah,
so it's all that's right. Even reading joysticks, the game works on either keyboard or joystick mode. And joystick does also take up a little bit of time. It has to interrupt the sound routine as well. So you may hear a very faint buzz when you choose joystick mode. Not much you can do with that because you're using the DACs are being used for not only playing the music, but they have to be interrupted so that they can read the joysticks and then quickly go back and continue playing music and trying to do this invisibly to the user. It works out all right. I mean, it plays fine on real hardware. Some of the emulators have a problem because that must be the way they handle the interrupts is not quite perfect. For example, VCC, if I run the same game under VCC, for some reason, it doesn't have very accurate cycle counts. So it's actually faster than what a real machine is. And that puts all the timing out. So for VCC users, when you're loading the game or when the game boots, it asks you if you want to patch it first to compensate for that speed loss, difference rather in VCC. And when you do that, then VCC works okay. But on a real hardware, you don't need to do that.
How about MAME and XOR? Do you have to do anything similar on those, or?
I think MAME works okay. It's just it drives me nuts just trying to use MAME. So, but yeah, if you've got MAME working correctly on your computer, I think it works fine in that.
We win.
You're not going to be. Go ahead, Tim.
We win.
Yeah, that's right.
I was just going to say,
yeah.
Nick, so you're not going to be offering public, email support for setting up MAME for anybody that wants to do it?
Oh, no, that's right. MAME's the sort of thing where I could only use it for a short time before I got an urge to go out the street and start killing people because it just drives me mad.
So it's not just me.
No, XRAW's, it seems to work under XRAW depending on which emulation you choose. I noticed that the Coco 3, under Coco 3, it puts a few glitches on the screen. On the Coco 1, it's, what was it? There's a speed difference as well, depending on whether you use a Coco 1 or a Coco 2B and all that. It seems to vary.
Weird.
So no guarantees it's going to be perfect on any emulator for that.
And I'm
matter.
guessing you haven't had a chance to try it on XOR 1.2 that just got released yet.
I did try it on XRAW 1.2. We're still having trouble.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's my PC doing it or what, but yeah, emulators just drive me crazy because they're not. The problem is when you're writing code that's very timing dependent, the emulators are not perfect in not just timing,
Well,
but
that
other
emulator definitely isn't perfect.
Which one?
VCC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, VCC works fine, except that I had to patch it so it tries to compensate for that timing difference. And I spent a bit of time trying to do that because I figured, I think most people would be using VCC because that tends to be the easiest or quick. Yeah, it's very easy to set up.
It's ironic that the out of the three main emulators for the Coco 3 or Coco 1 and 2 for that matter, that the one that is the easiest to set up is also the one that is the least accurate.
Yeah. I mean, it's accurate in every way except for that the way that the timing works or
I've had CPU like instruction cycle timing.
Yeah, the best way to get these things fixed is to write software that pushes it.
Yeah, and then you send it back to the people that are writing the emulators, and they can try to fix it.
Well, that's the thing, you spend all this time trying to get really tight routines to work within all the cycles of the computer, and everything looks good. Then you fire up an emulator, and it's just trash. It just doesn't work. So
I'd love to set up a VM with like David Keel's emulator and the Vavasor emulator and see what we've lost over time.
Yeah, I haven't tried that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, because out of all of those, I think Vavasor's, I can't remember if Keel's is, but Vavasor's is the only one written in assembly too, wasn't it?
Don't know.
Yes, it was written in assembly, and also when he was selling it, he had specifically optimized 68 and I believe 6309 instructions. I can't remember if he supported 6309 or not, but
I don't think he did. No, I think it was 6809 only. And that's the other thing. This game is for a 6809, so I don't use any 6309 specific stuff either.
Yeah.
So Nick,
It's basically
do you actually spin the wheels just doing no ops to lengthen the FIRQ?
no. They run flat tack, but under VCC where I had to slow it down, I had the option either slow it down to the point where it then works on both a VCC and a CoCo. But the problem is, of course, when you slow it down so it works under VCC, you are therefore using up more time on a real hardware machine, and that gives you less time in the game. So I couldn't really have the one common slowdown, and that's why I thought the easiest way is just have it prompt you when it loads as to whether you want to patch it for VCC. I thought I could auto detect to see if it's running on VCC, but then I thought, I'll bet you the next problem will be that it'll mistaken which emulator it's running on, and I thought, just prompt the user.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll fix it, and then you won't need the patches.
Well, that's right. You just ignore the patch later on, and it all still works.
Yeah. Now, was that the question you were asking, Tim, or you were asking more how he did the timing of this sign?
The timing. All it is whatever the routine was. I just added I think I added a exchange X, X, and in the code, which is eight extra cycles, 8 extra cycles per interrupt, and that was enough to slow it down so that VCC then falls in the right place. But then that's too slow for real hardware. Real hardware, you're adding 8 cycles more onto the IRQ routine, and that IRQ routine is running at 7,000 times per second. So 7,000 times 8 that's how many additional cycles that you've just incorporated into the routine, and that's a lot. So yeah, I can't really. I had to go for the least amount of cycles in order to leave me with plenty of time for the game. Anyway, it all works out. I've got a CoCo 3 and it works fine on that. I haven't got a CoCo 2. That's some of the testing I'm doing at the moment. But I've used MAME to test it on Dragon, CoCo 1, CoCo 2s, and everything. It seems to work even at 50 hertz, even though the tune is slightly, well, as I said, it's off already anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Do you ever use external testers?
Yeah, that's I have got an external tester now looking at it. So, and I do that right at the very end, so I don't get a flood of a big long list of bugs or suggestions. I say, nah, I will complete it, and in the end, you're just looking for the bugs.
Do you have an external tester for the Dragon as well, just to make sure that works okay?
Well, yes, I use Buck Owens. So Buck Owens has got a Dragon and a CoCo 1 and 2 and a CoCo 3.
Does he have a PAL, a 50 hertz Dragon, or does he have a
He
NTSC
may not.
10?
I do have a PAL one, which I'll have to dig out and set up and do the final verify. But yeah, I'll wait for Buck Owens because Buck Owens is a pretty precise game tester. He really knows how to test things, and he always, even in my last game, he found not so much bugs but errors which I had never seen when I was doing it, and I was being thorough. But he managed to find things, so he's very particular about how he tests things. So he's been a good tester, and he's my first tester. I've got a few other people I'll pass it on to, but I just want to hear from one person at a time.
Now, I should mention there's a bit of a caveat on the background music on the Dragon 64 in specific, because of course the
64 has a hardware problem, and that's well, you can explain that hardware problem more. There's nothing I can do about that because the hardware actually stops generating interrupts on the V blank. Yeah, when there's no interrupts, well, the sound stops. it still plays music, but you hear it being cut. The music's being cut in and out all the time, and that's
So there's
Dragon.
So there's no horizontal interrupt during VBlank.
Correct.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Dragon
You lose
32
all
there
the
is, but
interrupts.
on 64, for some reason they changed it. A lot of people in the Dragon community have actually modified the Dragon 64s to put it back in because some of the older games
Yeah.
required it.
Yeah, why did Dragon do that?
Yeah. Apparently they hired a Tandy engineer. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so yeah, but then again, in the game, I do have the option whereby if you press M while it's playing the music within the game itself, that turns off the music. So if it drives you nuts, or if it doesn't work properly, or generally the music drives you nuts, you can just turn it off and run just the sound effects. But that's it so far. It's, as I said, the game is now officially ended, or the programming stage. So now I'm looking for bugs and game testing. I've been putting together some artwork. So for the people who want a physical copy, they've got some artwork. And actually, I'll be making a special CD. It won't be just Jumping Joey. I decided I'm going to throw in all my previous 2 semi-graphic games as well on the one CD. So I'll make it a compilation CD, really. Jumping
I'm so
Joey.
glad I waited.
Well, most people just went for the download. But yeah, if anyone wants a CD, well, you can get all 3 games on one CD.
But it's good for people that are newer to the community too, that didn't get your previous ones, because now they can get the whole shebang in one shot.
Well, yeah, and that gives them 3 games that work on every Coco. And you only need, 16K is all you need for Pipes and Jumping Joey. And Rally SG needs 64K. Otherwise, it works on all Cocos and Dragons.
Yeah, this is actually your lowest requirement game. It's 16K RAM, Dragon or Coco, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't even need joysticks. You can just pick up a 16K Coco on eBay and go to town.
It can be either, yeah. If you can handle joystick control, which I can't, but it's got that option in there.
I'll be playing a keyboard. I'm much more comfortable with Frogger on keyboard than I am with joystick.
My fingers tie up in a knot if I try using keyboard anyway. Mind you, on a Coco 3 where you got the cursor cluster, I mean, if you're used to the cluster, that's fine. But if you prefer the Coco 1 and 2 layout, like Curtis, where you got the arrow keys on the left side of the up and down rather on the left side of the keyboard, and the up and down on the left and right on the right side. On the Coco 3, it does also support the Alt and Control keys, so that you get the same up and down arrow positions as the Coco 1 and 2. So you can
nice
choose
feature.
whichever one, yeah. But yeah, I use joystick. I've got a digital, and I recommend a digital joystick because a analog one will just be too floppy. So it'll work on either, but I can't use a Black Beauty.
Cool. Do you have an expected date, or is that depending on how the testing goes?
It depends on the testing. As the game's done, much of the packaging is done. But yeah,
definitely before Christmas, I'm assuming you want to hit the holiday season.
That's what I'm aiming for. I mean, if they find any big bugs, it might take longer, but hopefully it'll all be done before Christmas. Yeah. Good. Hopefully they won't find any bugs at all. Better still. Bugs? What
You're
bugs?
muted, Rick. You were trying to make a comment there.
Nope. What was that, Rick?
Just talking to myself. I said it could happen.
Yeah. Bugs? What bugs? That's not a bug.
Yeah.
That's a feature.
Yeah, EU doesn't have any bugs.
And that's it. That's all I got to show.
Cool. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, it looks great.
Does anybody else got any project updates or acquisitions before we get into the game on challenge results?
Yeah, this is Alan. Just real quick, I got a Coco 3 FPGA and I'm getting it set up and I really love it.
That's the 25 megahertz one?
Yes, mine is one of the 25 megahertz ones. There's a RAM change on some of them where you only get about 8 megahertz out of it, but the one I got, I left out.
Cool. I know. I've seen Bill fiddling with his Matchbox, which is a bit slower than that, using the Roger Taylor code. But I know he really likes it too, especially when you get like 80 by 50 text and stuff.
It's just neat.
Are firmware upgrades still being done for the Coco 3 FPGA?
The latest one is a few years out now, 4.1 from the group.
All right.
Yeah, he's been
All right.
focusing on the Gimme X recently.
Gimme X, yeah.
Gary
Yeah, he's
Becker.
done a couple updates to Gimme X in the last few months. So now if we could just get chips.
Get chips.
No kidding.
Chips and dips.
Or crisps, as they would probably call it in the UK.
Fries? Oh, that's in the US.
Yeah, fries.
Okay, well, we got no other. If there's no other updates and acquisitions, I think probably the Game On challenge results and.
Okay, actually, let's run our public service announcements. Here we go.
You are watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly video podcast featuring a Tandy color computer. We spread the love to the past, present, and future for all models, including the original color computer, the Coco 3, and the world-renowned exclusive French computer Coco 2, the Radio Shack.
CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our program, so our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Alan Huffman, Alan Murphy, Blair Ledoux, Boat and Aaron, Brendan Donahue, Brian Weasler, Brian Walsh, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Daddy Burrito, Daniel Williams, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant B., Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, J Style, Ken Reichert, Malfunct, Melly, Michael Pitsley, Mike Rayburn, OG Hugo, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Retro Tech Time, Rick Hewlin, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tim Thayer, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom Heron, Tom S., Tony C., and William Athing. Thank you ever so much, patrons.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord This Week?
Robert F. says, I've received a TRS-80 Model 4 with a GoTech and Free HD. I'm looking to find the Model 4 and 3 DOS games and programs for the GoTech and Free HD. Could someone point me in the right direction? The TRS-DOS_HD.HFE file on the GoTech is corrupted. Thanks. JB Lars says, I'm Justin. Owned a Coco 2 in junior high, looking to pick up where I left off by getting a Coco 3 rig together and enjoying it with my son. McFeedback says, Hi all. My name is Paul. I had an F-board Coco in high school and wanted to get back into Coco World. So I have bought another F-board and all the toys and looking forward to getting back into it. Just refreshing my knowledge base before I get my Coco 3. Lonely Rolling Stars says, Hi, I'm Justin, and I usually go by Stars for internet stuff. I'm the curatorial assistant at the new Vintage Geek Museum, a museum of historic technology opening next year in Knoxville, Tennessee. Our collection is very wide-ranging, but we have more Tandy items than anything else. I came across this server while trying to set up a BBS that is accessible from real hardware, so if anyone has any tips let me know. The previous bios were edited for time, thanks to Coco Man, Boys in Tech, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Nightbeard, Glenside Computer Club and the CoCoTALK patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.cocotalk.live.
See y'all on Discord.
Welcome everybody to the CoCoTALK Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Devil Assault. We had a total of 21 players. Rick U with 49.50, Mark B 79.50, Buck Owens 86.50, Exile in Paradise 87.50, Canadian Retro Things 9,700, Marcy 13,800, Henry 14,800, Ed Rhodes 14,900, AC's 8-Bit Zone 24,300, Sabhead 27,700, Rich N 29,650. Tied for ninth, we had David Craker and David Ladd with 47,600. Sloopy Malibu, who turned in a late score of 51,500. Mr. Dave 6309, 53,600. Jim Rye, 57,400. Shenley, 96,450. Paul Shoemaker, 106,750. Brian Walsh, 114,700. Low Level, 116,100. And the number one score this week was Tasman with 174,650. Thanks everybody that played this week, and we will see you again next week.
Wow, I was right next to Buck Owens.
I beat Buck Owens.
Yeah, what the heck?
I also like the way you shouted out Sloopy for being late there. Just
oh yeah, definitely.
That was a nice touch. Yeah.
I've got my standards, and if you're going to be
Public
late,
shaming.
I'm going to publicly shame you. Okay, so well, this game we there was. Oh, I cannot share my screen.
Oh.
Somebody dropped the ball.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so there was a rainbow score for this game. And it was 69,300. So yeah. I think that's definitely not a cheated score.
That's a doable.
That is very doable. Many people beat it this week. So there was also a review. Let's see, where was that? I swear I have a review here somewhere. Yeah, I think it's on the same page as this. Yeah, there. The review. This is from Rainbow March 84. Basically, the guy just goes through talking about the game. Then says the game has a lot going for it, but mostly it is just fun to play. So he really liked the game. He does say that he expected it was going to be another Space Invader Galaxy Attack type game, but yeah, he was pleasantly surprised by the future screens of it, or by the screens after the first one.
It looks like he wasn't familiar with the fact it's loosely based on Demon Attack, though.
Well, the first part is loosely based on Demon Attack, but then it just kind of goes off into its own tangents. So while we're talking about the game, let's take a look at some gameplay footage by our own David Ladd.
Now, this is a hacked version we should probably mention. I'll mention the news again, too, but since you're actually covering it now, you might as well go through it.
Okay, well...
Which channel did you pull it from?
I don't know. I just found one that you posted.
Okay.
Why?
Well, the one that was on the Dave's Hobbies, this is the Coco 3 color changing patched one. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
So Mr. Dave 6309 during this week had released a color patch for this game so that you could change the colors of it to anything basically you wanted. And it
also has it cycling through. So every time you get a new alien forming on the screen, like after you shoot one, you'll notice that the colors of the alien's wings change. So it's actually cycling through it as you get new aliens. Just kind
And
of cool.
this is the Halloween pumpkin color for the for you and the ground.
It was nice. I mean, most of the time we've seen these patches where you take a artifact in game, you want to get it to run, not say an RGB monitor, which normally just gives you black and white. You don't have, one of Jason's hardware devices to kind of fix that. Is that you would basically tell it to run it in P mode 3 and then you just do palette settings to change it. That's what Nick and I did on that compendium of such games. But he actually went a bit further here and he actually added a routine to cycle through multiple colors. You're actually getting more than just 4 colors in the game, which is cool.
Yeah, so it made it a very colorful game to play. So thank you to Mr. Dave6309 for providing us with that.
Yeah.
So
now you're aware of what Mr. David Ladd, the other David, what he did on his other video?
No, I didn't watch the other video.
Okay, well, I'll bring it up in the news, but Mr. David Ladd, since you're here, do you want to kind of explain what you did? Because you took Mr. Dave's and went a little bit further with patches to it.
Yeah, I was, Curtis is always talking about MAME and the debugger and looking for, things in it. So I decided, let's see if there's anything that looks like it could be possibly optimized.
Is it family friendly?
Yes, I happened to find a routine that I changed to a TFM, which appeared to make it run a little bit faster. And that was on a third channel, which Curtis will probably bring up in a while.
Yep.
So spoiler alert for the future.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see that David's kind of picked up the baton here because I've been busy with other stuff, so I haven't had a chance to go back into some of these games. But he's doing the exact same thing I did when I patched like Color Car Action and Marble Madness and Gauntlet and all that kind of stuff. Xeneon, because that's basically the same thing. You go with the debugger, you find a loop that's block copying memory around or something, change it to a TFM, and usually that gets you a pretty decent speed up unless they did some stack blasting, but even then you'll get a little bit of a speed up.
Bing, bang, boom.
Yep.
Is this version running in Coco 3 higher clock rate, or it's just the standard?
It's just regular clock rate, I think.
Right.
David, you didn't patch it to run in full double speed, did you?
No, I didn't do any changes other than loading it and executing it.
This looks like the normal speed for it.
Right.
Yeah. No, the nice thing is because he's not doing that is that if you have a 639 on your Coco 1 or 2 and you apply Dave's patch, it will run a little bit faster and smoother on a regular Coco 1 or 2 with the 639. You don't need a Coco 3.
Well, it seemed that it helped some, but there's other routines that I had some screenshots of what I found, but those would take some more interesting modifications to make work.
Yeah, and you usually try to find stuff that's being used a lot. Like I know you were posted in Discord a couple of things that you'd found. Like there was one that was definitely a double loop, but basically what it's doing is drawing the black background on the top and then the little orange bar on the bottom. But I'm imagining that only gets copied as you start each screen. I don't think it's getting continuously copied. So optimizing that wouldn't really help the gameplay at all. So that you kind of have to fiddle with and figure out, what routines you're looking at. Go ahead, Tim.
One thing I do want to point out is that you said it's kind of starts out as a ripoff of Demon Attack. Demon Attack was a ripoff of the game Phoenix.
Yes.
So yeah.
Somewhat, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So what you're saying is
It's
who's
a ripoff
actually
of a
ripping off of whom?
Well,
A ripoff of a ripoff.
the initial screen is very much like Phoenix, but the whole guys walking down the screen and stuff like that. This screen that's showing, at least that I can see, I don't know what the people are seeing besides me, but this screen is very much like Phoenix.
Yes.
The thing
Which
is here is, I guess,
because-
the aliens or the bats or whatever your demons want to call them that kind of merge together from both sides. That's kind of a neat effect. I don't think we'd seen in any other game before this or before Demon Attack.
Cycling the colors is pretty good because it gives an overall impression that there's more than 4 colors.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, there's only ever 4 colors on the screen, but they're being cycled. So that's a good little trick.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. That's why I kind of liked it. It gives the illusion of far more colors than you're actually getting at any one time.
Yeah. All he needs to do now is to patch it so it for a Coco 3 turns on a gimme mode, turns off that glaring white border.
Yeah.
Hey, only you don't like it. No, I think
That's
it's
right.
nice and remnants of the good old days.
It looks like a monitor border. That's what it looks like to me. Because the CM8 was basically white too, so it doesn't bother me like it bothers Nick either.
There you
It'd
go.
be nice to have
Yeah.
the option to shut it off though on a Coco 1 or 2. I have to agree, but
Well,
it
it
doesn't bother
works on a Coco VGA anyway. You can turn it off.
Yep, and on a
Is that
Coco 3
right?
you can. If you change it to use a gimme equivalent mode.
Yeah, on
instead
Coco
of the
3 you have to change the mode, but
Sam G one.
yeah.
Now, one thing we should mention: this game has been a game on challenge before, but as we
Yes.
discovered afterwards, we accidentally played it on basically what's equivalent of a practice level, which was too easy, and a lot of people just kept going and just quit out of boredom. So this time you had to pick, was it levels 3 and 4, Ken?
2 and 3. Level
and 3.
2 is starting on level 1 with straight shots. Level 3 and difficulty 3 is starting on level 1 with guided shots. So you got to choose whether you wanted straight shots or guided shots. But
So the original levels we did last time would have been 0 and 1 then. I
Yeah.
presume. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe it was February, wasn't it?
no, I think it was either the end of May or beginning of June. Oh no, maybe it was a little longer ago than that. I can't remember. There's been so many games since then.
So given the fact that you're playing on a more difficult level where the difficulty does ramp up, do any of the tips and tricks change as far as you guys that played it this week? From so the first time, or something unique to having the difficulty level actually ramp up?
Well, all I know is I really sucked on the practice mode, and I was even worse on this one.
Still beat me.
Barely.
David Ladd, any tips or tricks that you had from playing it?
Since
we're watching your video,
other than don't die.
Yeah, but try not to die in the center, because if you spawn, you're risking getting killed multiple times in the exact same spot.
I really try not to die anywhere.
I don't think you're trying to die is the whole, got you to that suggestion there.
Yeah, the center is definitely the worst place to die, though.
Yeah, it's this game has an evil, well, I guess being called Devil Assault gives a good meaning to it. But yeah, if you're in the center, you could get plastered 2-3 times in a row by bullets.
I found if you have to respawn in the center, I just hold the joystick over, so when I respawn, I'm immediately moving.
Yeah,
and that helps to get out of some of it.
Yeah, I guess one tip is that only one robot fires at a time.
And also for the first couple of levels there, the winged creatures, only the bottom level fires at you.
Yeah, so if you have one bottom level and say he's off to the left, you can actually pick off a bunch of the guys on the right and not have to worry about getting shot.
Yeah. It's always only the lowest guys that shoot at you.
Now, is that even after they split, like on the demon levels?
Yeah. Although when they split, either one of the lower guys can shoot at you, but only one will shoot at you at a time.
Okay.
Did anybody actually get high enough into this game to have the devil on top, dropping fire cauldrons on top of you?
Doesn't sound like it. I would assume some of the people on either the live stream or have submitted scores must have.
I would guess probably looks like Tasman must have gotten that high. I'm not sure whether it's level 4 or 5 that the devil starts on, but
so nobody on the live stream. I didn't get a chance to actually catch the live stream. So.
We didn't. Nobody got all that high. I think Sloopy or Jim got the highest score in the 50s.
Okay, and that's not enough to get into the devil on the top.
Definitely when you're on the sproing level, if you shoot the babies, you get the most points.
Get the babies.
Shooting babies.
Shoot the babies.
What kind of sick people are you?
Yeah, don't take that out of context, folks.
Yeah, that's now gonna be a clip that's gonna go out there. Is just me sitting here saying, "Shoot the babies."
The meme has already been created.
Yep. The burlap sack and a brick.
You're not helping, Dave.
Dave takes it too far.
So,
Thank you,
What'd
David.
you say this game was a rip-off of?
Phoenix.
Demon Attack by Magic. And then
Also
Phoenix
Demon
was previous
Attack.
to that.
And we've got Demon Attack on the Coco, haven't we?
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
it came out a year after this, though. This was actually earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fully licensed,
Right.
and everybody's happy.
And this was one
And
that
they
actually was
had the-
officially sold for the Dragon as well. I don't know if Demon Attack was.
The official one was rather unique on the boss too. That had a very neat boss.
Yeah, I think the Intellivision version had something similar. The Atari 2600 version doesn't even have a big boss.
No, on the Atari
Yeah.
version, you just go on and on and on.
It's Astro Smash all over again.
Yep.
One thing about the Coco version is it doesn't speed up like other versions do.
Plus, I'm trying to remember, Tim, you might remember. I think Demon Attack had some problems with early emulators because I think it used 1-bit sound instead of 6-bit, didn't it?
Well, I do remember it having problem with emulators. I think the problem originated how it switched the sound out when it was doing joystick reading between when it was outputting sound, and I think it created a hum in some emulators, and sort of like how Popcorn does.
Yeah, that kind of buzzing background. No, it's a good game. I like the fact it's another Ken Kalish one. He did, basically clone the first level off of Demon Attack, but then he kind of went original and added some new stuff, like the robots and then springs, etc., and of course the devil head thing.
Like Nick did in his Frogger clone.
Yeah, expand on the concept.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a lot better when you play the actual levels rather than the practice mode.
I just want to comment on how it's really adorable how the gun recoils when you shoot.
Yeah, your ship bounces down as it shoots up the bullet. Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's a nice touch.
Pew, pew.
And I have to say, just the slight patch of changing the palettes every time a new master thing forms it's quite nice. It actually does.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of heighten up the gameplay.
Now let's do that for every game.
Well, since a few of us know how to do it now, go ahead.
Okay, is Sloopy awake? Is Sloopy still on the call?
Yeah, I think he fell off the call.
Oh, he fell off the call. Well, okay, well.
Actually, got a couple comments here. I just want to get to before you go on there.
Sure.
Ken. So Sixy, Kieran, or author of X-Source says, yeah, it generated 1-bit sound by switching between MUX inputs, I think, or something like that. Talking about the Demon Attack cartridge. If an emulator didn't do the various relative voltage levels properly, it didn't work. And that, I think, is the problem that Tim was talking about. You get that kind of buzzing noise in the background. And Sixy says, I assume it works in MAME now, and I'm pretty sure it does, doesn't it, Tim?
I haven't tested it in a while.
I think the last time I tried it, it was working. It didn't have that weird buzzing in the background.
Yeah, I was just noticing that there are some floppy Discord changes in MAME that so that means, if somebody touches the floppy disk chip, I got to go and retest everything. So, man, it's fun.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, don't get David started.
Well, was it David doing the changes is my question.
I prefer
No.
having things working, not broken.
It was somebody with talent.
Oh, so not David. Okay, gotcha.
Really?
Really?
I can bag on David just as much as anybody.
Wow.
Actually, speaking of MAME, does
Yeah, go
anyone
ahead, Nick.
know? Does anyone regarding MAME? Does anyone know if in the latest version of MAME whether it still supports RGB monitors on the Coco 3?
Yes, it does. It got moved recently. The setting got moved recently.
Ah, so where
So,
to?
so go find it. Have fun.
I
Basically, what he's
have
telling you, Nick, is
tried.
that you're on your own with MAME no matter what happens.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
kind of MAME. Yeah.
I figured the less
trying-
time I spend trying to find things in MAME, the more people live.
Now, Tim, I have a question for you, an honest one, actually, with a little
All right.
bit of pithiness to it.
Okay.
You mentioned a couple of months ago that one of the original authors of MAME was actually working on a brand new front end. Is there been any progress on that to try to make it easier, like VCC, to actually set up and run?
One of the original authors of the the Coco drivers is well into a new front end for MAME. And yes, it's continuing. He does releases about once every 3 months. It's called Bletch MAME. I'll get a link for the show notes and for the chat really soon. And it is a GUI front end for MAME to try to make it easier to use. And what's really unique about it is that it uses MAME as a library, and it runs it under its own umbrella, so that it really tries to take over all the user interface stuff.
Okay. Because I just got a comment from 60 that I think echoes what Nick's saying. He says, just read the copious and friendly end user targeted documentation.
Oh, man.
I'm usually running.
I love MAME. MAME is my baby.
I love you.
And sometimes babies lash out. And
I love the part where I compile it and I have to compile it multiple times because the dependencies are screwed up on the make file. That's what I love.
Well, I haven't run into that, but yeah, the dependencies should be sorted out if you're having a problem. But I've never.
MAME is like a cute little baby that you're patting while he's sitting on your shoulder and he suddenly pukes all over you. That's basically what.
I like that metaphor.
MAME.
This would
we
be
got
about the time-
everything working right. Now let's change it all and break everything.
This would be time to insert the meme of me saying, shoot the baby.
That would be the time.
Put the baby
We
in a
brought it
bag with a
around.
brick and throw it in the river. Right, David?
Misa, no, not what you want.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say to that. Except, Ben, can you carry on and announce next week's game before we go further down the rabbit hole?
First I was
Before
gonna
we end up
talk
further
about-
down the river?
First, I was going to talk about the live stream.
Okay,
So we
do
had
that first.
a nice, successful live stream. We had up to 6 people playing at once and number of in and outs. So, yeah, a lot of people were showing off the new patch with the nice, colorful look. Yeah, we just generally had a lot of fun and got down some rabbit hole topics during that broadcast as well. So
Which we don't have to repeat here. If
No,
you
we
really want to
don't.
hurt your own brain, you can go listen to
yeah,
them
just
the
go
stream.
on and see that, and you'll never look at Jason Coco Man the same. All right, so yeah, so it was a good live stream.
Want to know.
Or David Landry, for that matter.
Well, there's clickbait.
Yeah.
So go watch the live
You've been
stream.
warned. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyways, just want to say it was a good, successful run of the game. And I think we actually had a lot of fun playing it.
Definitely had a lot more participants now than in the past. That's
Yeah,
really
the
cool.
participation in the last couple of weeks has been really, really good for the live broadcasts and stuff. So
Yeah, I think actually you guys switching back to the original day from when you guys did a trial
Yeah,
run,
we've
moving it to
gone-
Fridays. It actually has been working better. You guys have been more consistent.
oh yeah.
So-
We've gone from basically it just being me, Jim, Mark, and Sloopy to actually people joining us. So
real people.
And
yeah,
my hotel internet was struggling.
Okay, so anyways, let's take a look at what next week's game is going to be. And this was a request by Mr. Dave 6309. Anybody recognizes this game?
Oh yeah, I do. What the heck is it called?
Laser Trench?
It's by Kevin Hoare, right?
That's
It's by Kevin
it's-
Hoare, isn't it? Galactic
Um,
Fighter, maybe, or something.
But just a second here. I gotta.
Isn't that like a ripoff of that Planet of Zoom or whatever thing arcade?
Now, if I remember, it's got multiple levels. That's just one.
It's got multiple levels. That's just one of them.
Yeah, I was right.
So,
Galactic
Kevin
Fighter. Got it.
Galactic Fighter. So we are playing this on level 2. So before you start the game, you have to hit L and set to level 2. I'm not sure if there's a big difference between level 1, 2, or 3, but I figured we'll start in the middle because level 1 is fairly easy.
Yeah, and there's some fairly different gameplay mechanics to the different screens too. So it's got some interesting stuff you get to discover as you're playing through it.
Yep. So this is, as I said, a request by Mr. Dave 6309. So
Who also has an RGB version for that game as well.
Oh, excellent. But I'm just saying, if you don't like this game, blame him.
So just
If you don't like it, tough.
The RGB version means Coco 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody turn off the white border.
That sounds like you're volunteering, Nick.
Let's make that border hot pink just for Nick.
Yeah.
I think Nick's talking about Aboriginal politics right now.
Oh, God.
Okay,
I wasn't gonna go there, but
sounds like a Tom Selleck movie.
I am done.
Done for or done?
No, I'm just done. No,
I think this episode's getting flagged.
Stick the fork in him.
Now, Ken, did you want me to show some screenshots of what the other levels so people can get a preview, or do you want that to be a surprise when people go to try?
Sure. If you want to show some other levels off your site there.
Sure. Since I think there is. So it's got a full set of directions in it. Again, it gives you like points and what the goals of the game are.
Oh, what a great website.
Yeah, as plain can be. That's me. Vanilla. So yeah, I've got the ones, but basically the first level here, I'm trying to remember this because I haven't played it in a while, but I think it's kind of a little bit like Moon Shuttle's first level.
Yeah, you got asteroids coming at you. You've got missiles coming up from the bottom, and you also, if starting on level 2, you'll have ships coming up from behind you, and then trying to get in front of you and shoot you.
Yeah, and then when you get to the point where you complete that level, you get the control disabled hyperspace thing, and it actually does an animation where your ship flies and then turns into the tunnel, the laser trench, which is a nice little animation that Kevin did. And this is the same Kevin that did F-16, Assault for Dicom products. Also worked on Gates of Delirium and a bunch of other things too. So this is like Dave. He published stuff through other companies before they, came together and started selling through Dicom. So this is really sold by 4 Star Software. So
now, one thing I couldn't figure out while I was playing it, maybe Curtis, is how to use the smart bombs in it. Of course, I didn't read the directions, so.
Yeah, I'd recommend that.
Why isn't this game working?
Yeah, if you could read the directions, Ken, that would be really great.
I didn't see anything about the smart bombs in the directions, though. I quickly looked over
honestly,
them.
I don't remember. I haven't played it in quite a while, so.
So somebody will have to post that if they figure out, or if it isn't.
Is there smart bombs in this game?
Yeah. If you look at your write-up, it says smart. You talk about smart bombs.
Do I?
Yep. You also have 2 smart bombs that will blow up all your opponents on the screen.
Hopefully I didn't just accidentally leave that in from, cutting and pasting from something else.
Well, there is something at the top of the screen that says AMB3.
Bar, according to Mr. Dave.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's been quite a while since I played this. I do remember having fun with it. It was a game that I'd not seen back in the day. This is one I saw much, much later on after the Color Computer Archive came online. So this is not one I was familiar with back then, but I kind of wish I had been, because one, I like Kevin's other stuff. I mean, he did the WrestleManiac and, as I mentioned before, Gates and F-16 and others. So he's done a fair bit of good stuff. And this one is an original game, as far as I know. I mean, it's got some loose bases
Well,
it
borrows a little bit from several other games, but it's pretty unique.
Yeah. And good graphics. I mean, he did a good job on it. Built-in directions, which is nice. So that didn't happen too often back in the day.
And unfortunately, no auto fire.
Real man's game. Good.
Yeah. Prepare to have a sore thumb after.
None of this wimpy modern stuff with it, handhelds you all the way through.
The arthritis killer.
Yeah. I want to see you drop down and give me carpal tunnel. That's what I want to see. Good choice, actually. That's one I'd have not played in a while, so I hope I'll have some time to do it this time. And I think that's it for now. So that's a 32K joystick required, Coco 1, 2, or 3. I don't know if it's ever been ported to the Dragon. Somebody should get on that if it's not over there already. And since I noticed we have our late edition special guest, Michael Furman, here. So I guess there's a couple things you can briefly mention. The new video you released this week for your vlog series on the R232, just to kind of mention what that's about. I'll mention the news too and show a clip if you want to mention it before you get started. But the real thing here is no ice. And I know Tim Linder's got some questions / comments on that too for you, Michael. So take it away, Mikey.
You guys can hear me okay?
Yep.
It's been a while since I've used Zoom. So, you wanted me to talk. Sorry, I was a little bit. I didn't know you were going to transition straight into me. Did you want me to talk about the RS-232 video or more about no ice?
Just do a brief mention since you're here about the RS-232 video and what the goal of it was. We'll cover it a bit more when we get to the news, just because you just released it. But yeah, mainly we'll be talking about no ice because I didn't really have a clue what I was talking about when I brought it up last time.
Yeah,
as you well pointed out.
I made a comment when I posted in Facebook about my RS-232 video that many people don't know about how to use the most important RS-232 tool you can have, and that's an RS-232 tester. And you don't need an oscilloscope, you don't need a voltmeter, you just need one of those little testers. And you plug it in both sides and you can figure out whether you need, what kind of serial adapter that you need. And I think in this day and age with lots of things going wireless and USB, it's sort of a lost art. So I wanted to sort of demonstrate how to actually use the RS-232 tester and the breakout box. And this is something I think most people have forgotten. People who are new to the hobby, they've never seen. So what was the video that the guy had so much trouble with serial stuff? It was that I don't know if you guys know about Unagi Electric. He has some kind of like a mainframe computer, Centurion, and he had all kinds of trouble getting the serial stuff to work. I'm like, dude, get a tester. So that's
when
what
you
that
say
video is
tester,
about.
you're talking about the little box with the lights on it.
Yes, that's correct. I don't
Very
have
handy.
it. I don't have it handy. I would have to dart across the room and get it.
I'll be showing it because it's in your video, so I'll show them.
Yeah. So that's what
I would mention, like for the
They're
Coco, I mean,
lovely
some
to
people have
have.
been getting interested in BBSs again, and this is one thing that you could use, of course, to directly hook a couple of Cocos up to show a BBS off at CoCoFest or something. Games like P51 Mustang Flight Simulator from Tom Mix, null modem. You could test your null modem cable, make sure it's working okay to play head-to-head Coco games.
Right. I should probably do a Coco specific one. Talk about the cabling for that.
The limitations of the Coco's RS-232.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe the RS-232 pack versus the Bitbanger, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, because obviously I have RS-232, couple RS-232 packs, and turns out I have some cool gadget from Rick Euland as well. So
Past 232.
I may have the
Spoiler.
only one with the actual serial part. The Coco IO.
Cool.
I just
So I'll
found
bring
that.
that up in the news when we get to that. If you're
Yep.
still around, I don't know how long you can stay around, but you can comment a bit further. on
About
that.
an hour until the boss makes her presence downstairs. Then I probably have to jump off.
Okay. So what I'll maybe do is that I'll switch when we finish with this talking about no ice. We'll switch over to the news, and I'll actually put that one first. We don't have to keep you around and have you at least available for questions. But anyway, no ice. Tim, you probably know a bit more about this than I do. Actually, if you know anything about it, then you know more than I do. So if you want to kind of and head up this part of it here, since
Sure.
you mentioned that you're something you're very interested in too.
The video was awesome. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's not something that I've used, but to summarize, it's a way of debugging software running on the Coco that uses a little resident program running on the Coco to facilitate the whole debugging thing, right?
That's correct. It has what's called and I'm trying to bring it up. I need to give Zoom some permissions here, but once I get that, I can bring it up live. But yes, it has a little monitor program. It could also be called a debugging stub. GDB has something very similar, and so what that program does is it basically takes over your Coco, and basically sits on the serial port, and it waits for the program on the other end, which is the actual debugger, to connect to it. And when the debugger, I can actually show this a little bit if I can. Where is this permissions thing?
Was that spelled Noice?
Noice, that's correct.
Okay, good.
It's actually
Now, is this something like ZBug was an editor somewhere where it sets up like software interrupts where you kind of pop in and out?
It's actually
exactly
very
like that.
similar. The way that it works is similar. It's just it's not controlled from
the Coco's
it's not
keyboard.
controlled from the Coco. It's controlled remotely.
Okay, that's a pretty big difference.
Right. I think I need this one.
You have to remember that no ICE is designed for multiple targets. I mean, the code can be modified for any 6809 or 6309. And the guy also supports like 15 other CPUs, including the 8080, the 6502. So
wow.
It's a whole remote debugging platform.
If you guys want to see what's on my screen, I have to sign back in.
I don't
That's
have
what
a
it
problem
looks
with
like.
that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, give me a
Tim
moment.
can vamp for a few minutes.
Sure, I'll be right back. Sorry, I wasn't prepared with this part. I was busy doing house cleaning. So
Hey, our show's never prepared for anything, so that's actually just normal.
all right, I'll be right back.
Okay. Have you had a chance to try it, Tim, yourself? Or?
No, I haven't. But everybody should go watch the new episode of Sibling Rivalry that just dropped.
The Halloween special.
The Halloween special. We play a nice, scary Halloween Atari game. Not very Coco specific, but it was a very fun episode to tape. And I have no idea how AJ stayed in character the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good Halloween costumes that you kind of cheated and did some of yours digitally.
That's not a cheat. That's the way to do it.
Tim, the Hollywood mogul.
Yeah. I found the color slider in the editing software. We just set up an Etsy store for t-shirts. You'll see the link in the latest video. Buy a t-shirt.
Are you guys going to be doing a follow-up video for what happened at the convention?
On my personal channel, I posted a 2-minute long video of some of the video that I shot at the convention. But there's another video out there that's fantastic. It's about 40 minutes long, and he goes through everything. He did way better than anything I could have done being a vendor at the show. I should definitely. I put that on the Discord in the if I haven't, I will, in the channel where we talk about non-specified events. Can't remember what it's called. But yeah, and all the videos from Portland Retro Gaming are coming out. There's this great one about the Nintendo Power magazine. A guy out there has been collecting all of the broadsheets that they use to print it. And the models that they've made for the covers. He almost got the claymation cover, the first one with Mario. But it was crushed in a unfortunate moving accident. And then there's some other photography that he's been able to get, some original paintings for covers that he's been able to get. One thing I never knew about publishing, and I know a lot about publishing, is when a magazine commissions an artist to do a cover, they they will receive it, and then they'll photograph it, and then they'll send it back to the artist to do whatever they want to do with it. And they can sell them, and they can't republish them, but they can sell them and make a big.
Yeah, comic book artists do that a lot too.
So this guy's been collecting everything that he can, and he had a whole showcase at PRGE that was really fun to see. And so, yeah.
It looks like Mikey's back. So, Mikey, if you want to test your sharing there, and then we'll put you and Tim on the screen to talk more about No Ice.
Well, if Mikey's sharing, he should get the full screen.
Yeah, I just shared this whole screen. All right. I have some, we can look at this in a minute. So I actually have, can you guys see what I have going on here? I have MAME running, and I have No Ice on the side over here.
Yes,
with assemble into memory.
Yeah, I'm just playing around over here. Assemble into memory. You can actually, I was trying to type the sample program. I forgot to load it, but I can load that back in. I'll just restart this. So
this works with MAME and not actual hardware.
Oh no. Let me actually show. So this does work with real hardware.
Oh.
You have, for connection options, you can use TCP/IP or you can use serial. So you can I was using it over serial connected to my real Coco. I didn't do a demonstration of that because I didn't realize that I could actually set up a second camera and show that stuff. So I can do a little bit. I can do a video on that one as well. So this is, I'm sure most of the people who use this use the serial port connection instead of TCP/IP. But if you're using an emulator like MAME, you can, as I showed in the video, you can set up MAME to connect on TCP/IP, or alternatively, you could use like Mark and David Ladd have Ethernet to serial port gadgets. You can connect your serial port to one of those and connect to it on TCP/IP. So this has a whole bunch of flexibility.
Cool.
So does that make sense, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll definitely.
All right. So let me go here and reset this and restart this over. Make this a little smaller so you can see both things on the screen. So I'm just going to repeat the demo that I gave in the video. I just forgot one step. So you do have to go to AllRAM if you want to debug inside of the ROM. And I explained
so normally
the reason.
a color computer will start up in ROM RAM mode, and you just ran a little program to copy everything to RAM and to create a full 64K address space.
That's correct. So now the computer is running completely out of RAM, which is good and bad. So
good that you can patch it, bad that you can overwrite it.
Right. It's in the memory. When I load this up again, I can show you the memory window. I don't know if it's because I'm actually running, it's a Windows program, and I'm actually on a Mac. I'm using a Crossover, which I actually highly recommend for you Mac users. You can run essentially Crossover is Wine, but it's sort of packaged. You don't have to fiddle around with stuff, and it will run 32-bit Windows programs. So just think about that, Curtis and Tim, being able to run 32-bit Windows programs on, even the latest Apple Silicon, which is what I have here. Crossover is a very nice piece of software, but it's just a commercial version of Wine.
Okay.
So that's what I'm using to actually run this. I have all kinds of stuff. I have VCC installed in here, all kinds of other programs. They all work. All right.
Best of both worlds.
So this is exactly what I had in the demo. I put everything to AllRAM. I loaded my sample program into memory, which I think is 4,000 or something, and then I run the monitor, and on the no ice side, I don't know if I changed the settings. We'll see if it. Oh, okay. Have to. This is one thing about MAME versus a real versus a real yeah versus a real Coco. MAME only opens the serial port, the TCP/IP socket when you start it. If you disconnect, you have to. I don't know.
MAME to get it to reconnect.
Yeah, MAME will close down the connection if you stop MAME, or if it's disconnected remotely, I believe.
Right. So that's a little bit annoying because I obviously had to redo this, right? This is where using real hardware and a serial port is actually a lot handier because that doesn't actually disconnect. So if I get this thing reconnected here. All right, so I can load some, oh, I don't have, okay, do I have the, I can try to load some symbols, but it doesn't look like I have the symbols for my sample program. But we can tell this to look at, this loaded at 4,000, I think. Let's see. Yeah, this looks like my sample program here. All that it does is it prints a message. So, you know, as I showed, I can go to wait a minute. I need to set a breakpoints. This is a debugger, right? It's not
meant to be an assembler.
It's not really going to be that exciting for most of you, right? But
well, speak for yourself, Mikey.
What's that?
Speak for yourself, Mikey.
Oh, I know. For you, it's super exciting, and you know, so
we just saw you set a breakpoint,
right? And then I typed the command to actually tell it to go to 4,000, and the breakpoint is at 4,001. So at this point, it's showing here. You see the program counter is in red. It's showing that that's what the register that changed. There's actually one other thing that we can do. If I open this other window, I think if I just step it by one. So I brought up the communications window. What this thing can actually do is it sends commands over the serial port to the monitor on the other side. It can read and write memory. It can read and write registers. So basically, it has complete control over everything that's running in the CoCo. I mean, I can even go to the memory window. Okay, this one is going to cover up this one. Thanks. Come on. Let's put it down here. Where's my message?
You need a bigger monitor.
Right, it's a monitor. I can.
No, you need a bigger display for your computer so you can show all the screens.
Right. I can just go in here and change memory. You know, I'm changing what my message actually is right now. Because the ROM is actually in RAM, I can do the same. Whoops, I need 8,000, not 800. Okay, this is actually the ROM. Unfortunately, I can go here and change that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's extended basic ROM there.
Right.
All RAM mode, dangerous.
Yep. This thing has no ice actually has a ton of features which I haven't even gotten into. You can generate a symbol. You can load symbols into this thing. All it is it's a list of what name is at what address. So if I step into this, let me load one more. So I have all the symbols for color basic. So if I actually tell this to go to, you know, we were looking at the basic ROM before. It actually has all the symbols you see here.
That's
L8, L8002. If has all the symbols, it has all of the variables. So this thing actually has the capability to do source level debugging if you feed it all the information. And I don't think that there are tools for our Coco tools like LWASM or CMOC or any of those things. Those kinds of tools would have to be built. It already supports GCC, but we don't really use GCC that much anymore. God, I was playing with that. What, 2008 or something? 2007? Right, Tim? We were all playing with GCC.
Trying to get it perfect.
Yeah.
Got nowhere near.
So what's the example that I was looking at before? Oh, this is the wrong one. This is my sample program. So if I go here to this A282, which is the put care, we should be able to see A282. There it is, put care. Oh, I just put a breakpoint there. All right, well, that's fine. We can run the program. It should stop here eventually. If I click this button, this is the in a debugger, you have different ways that you can step through the program. You can step one instruction. You can tell it to step into a function. You can tell it to step over a function which skips it, or you can just tell it go. If I just click go, we're actually inside of my sample program. We're going to wind up here. So we're actually inside, as I showed again in the video, we're actually inside of put care, and I can jump around through here.
So basically all the normal debugger functions, but via the serial
Abstract.
port.
Yeah, you should remember that the only reason you can set breakpoints in ROM is because you did the RAM to ROM, the ROM to RAM routine.
Right. That's the only reason that that this works. So, yeah, let me go back to put care and remove that breakpoint. So
Just out of curiosity, does this support 6309 instructions as well, or just 6809 at this point?
Yeah. So they're actually two different binaries, but there's a 6309 version.
Oh, cool.
I just happen to be running the 6809 one.
So is there a
for this
way?
demo.
Is there a way to break into a running program?
No.
So the idea is you set up your
on-
breakpoints ahead of time and you hit them during execution.
Yeah. The reason why is we don't have hardware support on the CoCo for this.
Now, of course, we always can overload the NMI interrupt. Is there facilities for doing that? Has anybody thought about it?
So I haven't really studied this monitor program very much, but they do. If you do look through the monitor program, they do have to go in and somewhere in here, they actually set up, like, these are the vectors, but for the CoCo you have to, because it's in ROM, you have to use the like 1000, I forget exactly where it is, the RAM jump table for the vectors.
The trampoline vectors.
Right.
That are in
so
RAM.
It's configured right now for reset, as looks like reset. I didn't read Robert Galt's comments here. This monitor program was basically modified for CoCo by Robert Galt, but I didn't read all of his comments. But it looks like but yes, Tim, you can always put if you put an SWI in your program, which is actually what I did in the sample.
Yep.
Did I do that? Yes. Back to monitor. You can actually force it to go back, but on like x86 or other CPUs that have a debugging chap built into the CPU, you wouldn't need to do that. You could just force it. You could, as you said, you could set it up so that you use a different interrupt to break into the monitor. That's something that you could do. You could get that set up.
So if you put a switch on your NMI line on your CPU, you could set up this program to break into the monitor when you hit the button.
Right. I think
that'd be fun.
I think you'd have. I think based on what I'm seeing here, well, it has FIRQ. It may have some other ones. I have NMI.
Oh, it is there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that out. I've always wanted to hook up a switch to my NMI interrupt.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, you could just have a switch and have it generate an NMI, and then it breaks into the monitor. You really should study it's called the Mon Coco. To get it to work with MAME though, as this comes, it doesn't work. You can get mine from GitHub.
Now, do you think it would be possible to write the stub here to work both with MAME and the Coco, or is there some fundamental? Oh, okay.
It does. The really dumb thing that this where's the main loop here? Init entry main. The thing that I don't completely understand and haven't completely figured out is whenever you're in the main loop, every time you enter, it basically resets the UART. And we have we're using 6551, right?
Right.
So
the
when you
pack.
reset the 6551, if it's in the middle of transmitting something and you reset it, it stops and it generates bad
Makes
bits.
sense.
So my fix is I added, after you finish sending something, I added a 1 character delay.
Kind of makes you wonder how Robert got it working.
I don't completely understand how Robert got it working. I think there's probably some behavioral, and this makes sense too. There's some behavioral difference in between the real hardware and MAME, right? MAME is not going to be 100% perfect.
As we know.
There could be slight differences in different versions of the 6551. They were made by different manufacturers. Maybe they were slightly different. There's MAME, so there's a whole bunch of things that would need to be studied in a lot of detail to understand why I had to. Where's this? I think it's just called send or something like that. Right after this. Is it? Where is it? I don't remember where it is, but that's what I had to do to get it working in MAME was I had to add a. I'm not seeing it. This might be. Is this the right code?
Wouldn't it be in the init UART mode that I saw scroll by?
I have a note here. Yeah. This is my GitHub code here. So I just added this loop that's one. It waits for the UART to finish transmitting. Not really finish transmitting. Basically UART 6551 has a 1 character buffer. You send a character when it says it's ready to receive a character, you can give it 1 character. You put it in the register. Then when it takes that and starts transmitting it, that's when it clears, when it says transmit ready. So it's for that, and then it just delays 10 bits at 9600 baud. So this made it work in MAME. It's a no-op on real hardware. It works just fine because just added a little delay after you send anything. So this works, but I don't understand why the UART has to be reset every single time. And somebody, I think, was it Rick? You said, well, why don't you just reset it at the beginning? Well, I tried that and it didn't work. I don't understand why exactly.
Well, this is a great introduction to NoIce, and it's definitely a very powerful little program, a really good option for the programmers among us.
Right.
Yeah, and I do like you're using the NMI there, because like say you're trying to debug a program and all of a sudden it gets stuck in an infinite loop. A non-maskable interrupt means you can't stop it. Even if you shut interrupts off, it'll still come through.
Yep.
So the NMI will actually get you out of that infinite loop so you can figure out where did your program go wrong.
When somebody gets that working, it's definitely worth another video.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds. Do we have NMI on the cartridge port, or is it internal only?
It's on the
It's on the cartridge port because the disk controller uses it.
All right. Well, then that's easy. I don't know if I kind of have some non-Coco videos that I want to do. I want to, really want to work on my YouTube channel. So I have a whole bunch of projects for December lined up.
Cool. We can't wait to see them.
Yeah, I'll have to publish those in off topic, and I can't really publish them in the Coco channel at all because I'll get yelled at, right?
Nobody will yell at you, Mickey. Nobody will yell at you.
I don't know about that.
Well, if you're interfacing with the Coco, I think that's legit. I mean, well,
that's an interesting idea.
And we do have a lot of people that are cross-platform in the Coco community. Let's be honest, that use a ton of different platforms. So, and because No Ice works with all the different CPUs you're mentioning, like 6502s, 8080s, 6809s, 609s, that it definitely covers and scratches the itch for a lot of different platforms if you're doing your own code.
Keep in mind that someone complained that I posted that snowflake thing program. So take complaints with a grain of salt.
Every single one of them. So Mickey, does this work with the Bitbanger as well as an RS-232 pack?
So there is another monitor program. The way that so the guy who made Noise, I think, made one that worked with the Bitbanger. I haven't tried it.
Okay.
There's a few different 6809 monitors. Robert Galt's one is called MonCoco. Maybe I should show one more thing before we
No, there's no time. Sorry, we got to go to the election results in Bristol.
What?
Sorry, Monty Python reference.
Exactly.
No, go ahead, Mickey.
I thought that they already had a new prime minister, so I'm confused.
This week, yeah, was it the head of lettuce this time? I can't remember. Go ahead, Mike.
You were going to show a different monitor.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I have to do it this way. So,
talk about derailing.
Anyway, maybe I don't have to show that. When you get so as a hobbyist, you can get No Ice for 6809 and 6309 for free, but he says he wants to know about your project. He wants to know about what your project is. So for you, Tim, you could say, well, I'm going to use it with, to debug stuff in MAME, or you have all kinds of other projects, Tim. And Curtis, I was thinking about trying to figure out how to integrate the monitor into Nitrous 9.
Yeah, level 1 would be pretty easy, I would think.
Yeah.
Level 2, because of the MMU swapping, like I don't know if Noise has any of its monitors have anything to actually handle the fact of what task register you currently set to. And
the Coco one does not have the task register stuff, but I think some of the other ones do. So I think it's possible it actually has the capability to understand. You probably have to do some configuration of some kind to tell it about what the memory map looks like and what the MMU looks like. I haven't explored that. I believe it does.
Because honestly,
have some...
that's my one problem with the MAME debugger too, that I noticed that VCC's debugger actually does have a bit of support for. Is, I want to set a breakpoint, but I want it in task 1, not task 0.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I'm running, like the system happens to be running code at the same address as my own code, and all of a sudden it's breakpointing like crazy in stuff I don't care about. I know the RBF driver works. I don't need to stop there every byte being read off the controller type thing. So
that's why when I've had to debug stuff in Nitrous 9, I tend to use level 1 for that exact reason.
Yeah.
I can
I mean,
figure
I've
out what's
gotten kind of
going-
used to it, but it's still a pain in the ass compared to, just set it, only if you're in task 1, stop here. If it's in task 0, ignore it.
Since No Ice can completely read and write all the memory on the system, you could add code to the monitor to read the task register and figure out what task it's in, read all of the MMU registers, and so that I
Well, that's the
haven't
problem, isn't
I haven't
it?
looked into this, but I believe it's possible to do.
The MMU registers aren't readable.
They're not readable if you're past 6 bits. Yeah, that's right. You'll get random results if you have like the older
No,
one, meg or 2.
I thought all the bits were unreadable. I thought they were write only.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually. Are you right? I can't remember now. Nick, do you remember if you're awake? Apparently, he's not.
Anyway,
because isn't that what King's Quest 3 and stuff when they did the upgrade? That's where it screwed up because it was trying to read the registers back to figure out where it had remapped stuff in its own internal map.
Frankly, I'm embarrassed. This is something I should know off the top of my head.
That's okay. Things kind of go in and go out. In and more things go in,
What
something
is
else
the
goes
matter
out.
with
I don't
you
know
that
about
you don't know
guys,
this
but
off the top of your head?
I've
Yeah, what do you mean you
forgotten-
don't know every single byte code for every instruction in the 689? What is wrong with you?
That's
You need a
right.
dissembler for.
What is address 010A4?
I
That's a
have
vector.
that.
That's a vector. That's an IRQ vector, if I remember correctly.
Oh, right. I got them all listed out. I just don't have which ones are read and which ones are write only.
We're past asparagus now and into broccoli at this point.
Yeah. So, do you guys mind if I show something that I found this week when I was helping my dad move storage lockers? That's extremely, extremely rare. It is not Coco.
I like rare stuff.
I want to see it.
Yep, go ahead.
The build up
Alright,
to this is
so
killing me.
if you,
Jupiter Ace.
If you spotlight me,
I'm unfamiliar.
May the fourth be with you.
It looks like
can
an
see
MC-10
myself.
from
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica.
So this is actually, I don't care what people say on eBay or other places. This really, really is a rare computer. So this is Jupiter Ace 4000, and this is a North American 60 hertz NTSC version. Apparently there were 800 of these made, apparently, out of a total worldwide, I guess just means England basically, but supposedly a total of 5,000. So this really is rare.
What
It's
processor
Sinclair
does it
with
have in
fourth.
it?
So
Z80.
what this and can show you. Oh, whoops. While I'm talking, I'll spin this thing around so you can see it. So
Reminds me of a Sinclair.
in the
It
in
is.
the
Yeah,
in
it's very
1980,
similar.
I believe around 1980, Sinclair actually released the ZX80 in 1980, and a couple of the engineers left Sinclair, and they decided, oh, we can do, here's the power jack, which if you know Sinclair computers, you have to short out the power supply because it's not a
Every
barrel
time you plug it
connector.
in. Every time you plug it in.
I'll show you guys this operating in a few minutes when I'm done jabbering, but so they made this computer, and it was inspired by yes, it does have monitor port and TV. You can see the channel switch.
Okay, so it's got composite and RF.
It
then.
does. It does have composite. It has a speaker. It's a membrane keyboard, which, since this thing is old, it's very, very, very hard to type on. But
You're missing a foot.
so these engineers left Sinclair and started Jupiter, and Jupiter CanTab is the name of the company. So this computer does not run BASIC. It has fourth in ROM. I know very, very little fourth. I can just give a basic demonstration of just doing
Reverse
some,
Polish notation.
yeah.
Yeah,
But fourth is an extremely efficient language And unlike BASIC, you can actually add commands to the vocabulary. It has a built-in assembler, so you can integrate machine language programs with it, all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, we had some pretty good fourth compilers on the Coco, like Hoyt Stearns Electronics had one. There was one under OS9.
Fourth probably made it to more computers than anything else, and it's probably the least used language on any of those platforms.
Yep. So the story about this particular one, when I was a little kid, I remember getting into my dad's VW Bug, and one evening we drove to somebody's house. I think probably someplace here in San Jose. Not, I guess I don't know if it was the part of San Jose I live in now or a different one. And we just went to somebody's garage and he picked up this computer. I don't remember the exact date. It was probably 1983, 84, somewhere around there. And yeah, so it was in our house, and I thought that I had it stuffed away in a drawer, for safekeeping, but apparently it wound up in a storage locker. So my dad and I are both very happy that we found this. So if you give me a moment, I can get set up to actually demonstrate it for you.
Okay, yeah, we'll make the demonstration fairly quick here. We still got the news and stuff to go through, but yeah, go ahead. Has anybody here ever programmed in Forth?
I've programmed in PostScript.
I tried to program in Forth, and after about 10 lines of code, I said, what the hell am I doing this for?
Yeah, the reverse Polish notation, for those that don't know what it is, means you actually even write like math differently. So you normally would, like in BASIC, if you want to add 2 to the variable a, you'd go a equals a plus 2. Whereas in Forth, I'm trying to remember, you'd go
plus
a plus.
Yeah.
2a plus.
Yeah, you also use that on HP calculators. So if you're used to the HP calculators, it's not horrible, but the people that are real evangelists of it just absolutely, it's the best thing ever, and I just no.
Yeah.
No.
It is efficient. I mean, it is fairly fast. It's one of the better compilers out there, but it takes a whole different brain think to get around.
The thing with Forth is that you can extend the language. It's stack based, and you can add your own functions and things like that. That's its claim to fame, and it works pretty well, but you can have your own functions and things like that in other languages. So I don't know. It's kind of seems.
I think for the time, James, like when it came out, like in the late 70s, early 80s, I think it was pretty innovative for that, because this is before modern languages really took off. And I think the reverse Polish notation, like you said, unless you did a HP programming on a calculator there, you wouldn't be familiar with that at all. It's completely backwards to what you're trying to, what they teach you in algebra class.
Well, yeah, when C became popular, you could make your own libraries of functions and all sorts of stuff like that. And it just kind of, the advantages of this.
It kind of fell to the wayside after that.
It fell away,
But there was one, I'm trying to remember, there's one of the game consoles actually wrote everything in Forth, if I remember too. I'm trying to remember which console it was. It was an obscure one too.
One of the game consoles?
Yeah, it might have been one of the European ones.
There's ones that have a kind of a intermediate language. I can't remember what it was. Bally Astrocade had something, but I don't think it was Forth.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. And I'm done vamping now, so if you're ready, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was ready a while ago. I just wanted to if you want to spotlight, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, we see you're holding out. That's a power cable or cassette cable, or what is that?
This is not a barrel connector. This is just like a 3.5 millimeter connector. So when you plug this in to the power, it shorts it every single time you do it. But anyway, plug it in, and if it reset correctly, it just has a little cursor in the corner there, and it's stack based. So I can put the number 2 on the stack. Come on, enter. Keyboard is really fiddly because it's too old. So 4th is stack based, so I just put 2 and 2 on the stack. And if I can get this thing to type a stupid plus, what the plus will do is it will take the 2 top things on the stack, it will add them, and it will put the result back on the stack. So it just says, okay, it actually took the 2s and added them, and then put it.
We can only see the bottom part of the screen.
Yeah, we only see the cursor.
What's that?
We only see the
cursor.
bottom.
Oh,
There you go.
see that, or should I move this a little bit more? Let me try to move it a little bit more so you can actually see what's on the screen. Is that a little bit better? If it focuses?
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully it
I
stays
apologize
focused.
about that. Thank you.
Can you make colors?
So yeah, I put 2 and
No.
2 on the stack, and then plus pop those 2s off, and it did the addition, and then it put the result back on the stack. So if I can get it to type a dot, this just looks at what's on the stack right now, and it should say 4. So yeah, I did basic addition. Again, because it's stack based, you can do things like duplicate, which this is going to be the same thing as before, and plus I can type the whole thing in one line. There we got our 4. They have swap and define, and this is really about the extent of the fork that I know. But yeah, Jupiter Ace. Very, very happy that I found this computer. So
Yeah, and because you got it on top of the Coco 3, we can see the relative size. Like it's quite a bit smaller. It's closer to a Sinclair ZX.
Yeah, and capability wise, it's very similar.
yeah. So I wanted to show that to you guys because this is extremely
Rare piece of history.
Those are a very rare machine.
very, very, very rare machine. So, all right, I think that's enough non-Coco stuff. So, if you guys have any questions about probably not that many about the Jupiter Ace, but about no Ace, I can help you out.
I definitely want to see if one of you guys can get the NMI thing working like Tim's talking, where you can actually do a hard ramp from a switch based on the Coco, so you can interrupt a program no matter where it is at the time. And if there's any, if Robert Goldberger is doing the driver, they can actually get the MMU register stuff working as well.
I'm not sure he's working on it. He did it some time ago. I have been trying to think about how to approach him about it.
And also, you mentioned that if you tell the guy what your project is, that he'll give it to you for free. What does it cost normally? Like if you just want, for free will, whatever you want to do.
I don't know.
Like, is it really expensive?
If you're
you can't buy it individually.
I'll just look at it. One moment.
You can't buy it individually, but you can buy the whole package of all of them for $180.
Oh, so you have to get for every CPU at once. Oh no, it looks like there's some individual ones there for $80.
Yeah, whole package is $180, but he clearly says 6809 and 6309 are free if you email me a description of what your project is.
Wow, and he only offers that for the 6809, 6309, eh? Everything else is charging for, it looks like.
Probably if you have an interesting enough project, he might. I don't know if you could convince him. You might be able to.
Now I have to ask you, the bottom one, $5 noise for rocks. What the heck is that?
I actually don't
rocks,
know.
Like, does he send you a piece of granite and you develop on that? I don't understand what that means.
No,
yeah, I don't think that's what that means.
Okay, I don't know. I actually don't know. That's an interesting question.
What if you click on the purchase button? What if you click on the purchase button?
I'm not gonna. Okay, sure.
Does it
Do
say
it.
Oh, it just sends me to PayPal. So yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Okay.
I actually got this from him. I actually bought the DOS versions of it. You use like in DOSBox and stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway,
this pack here.
Yeah. So you can
Right.
run that under Windows or Linux, yeah, and use the virtual serial port. Yeah. So
Yep.
anyway, I was chatting with him. He said most people would get it for either the Tandy or the like the Williams arcade games, are the most of the 6809 users.
Yep.
That's interesting too. Thanks for explaining that, and thanks Tim for being also somewhat familiar with it and exactly what it was trying to do. Did Tim disappear?
He is gone.
He appears to be gone.
Okay.
And Brian Schubring has joined us, so welcome, Brian. We don't hear you. Still don't hear you. We understood that. So, do you want to do a commercial break there, Mark, and then we'll hit the news?
Oh, okay. All right.
Time
Thanks
for a
again,
nap.
Mikey.
Good morning, Coco Land. This is Brian Schubring with Music Man here at the Coco Fest. Having fun, fixing issues, and making things roll, and making lots of sound. Have a great day, guys.
The music is back.
The MIDI Maestro available now, only from Retro Innovations.
Go the number 4 retro.com. As you're enjoying CoCoTALK, we also want to remind you about the Coco Discord server. This is a place where people come to connect, to ask questions, to provide answers, to share information, and to socialize. So when you're done, why don't you head on over to the Coco Discord server and we'll continue the conversation there. The easy to remember link is discord.cocotalk.live. See you on Discord.
Let the Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, an up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
At Gsoft, we make games for the TRS-80 color computer, TRS-80 MC10, and Dragon computers. Our basic games cover the range of genres from arcade, to text adventures, to simulations, to 3D dungeon crawls. This is our latest puzzle game from Japan, Fruit Panic. So come on and drop by our website and download our latest games.
Greetings, YouTubers. Atari Leaf here, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
Man, take it away, Curtis.
Okay, since we have Mikey here, I'll skip right to his RS-232 tester story here first. So this is part of his vlog, and he's actually been doing stuff like desktop publishing and programs that he did as a teenager and stuff from previous episodes. And he's going through the RS-232 tools and tricks here. So let me just fast forward here a little bit. So this is showing some DB9 connectors, and of course there's a couple different standard connectors. The older one's a 25 pin. Do the testers that you got, Mikey, do they cover both 9 and 25 pin, or are they more?
I have the original older style that's a 25 pin, so that's why I need all the adapters. But they're good if you're going to do RS-232 stuff. It's a good idea to have these adapters as part of your kit anyway. It allows you to pretty much connect anything to anything.
Yeah, because DB9 is basically the standard on PCs, like later PCs, but the original RS-232 pack and the Coco and a lot of the other older machines was 25 pin, as well as the old terminals.
So I didn't show how I actually connect it to the RS-232 pack. I was thinking about doing a Coco specific video, but yes, so these are the older style RS-232 testers that have the DB25, but of course you can adopt them to DB9. You can buy DB9 ones, but if you're doing RS-232 stuff, this tester is the tool that you need to have, period.
Right.
Yeah.
So my
now,
mind-
Rick, you actually made your own.
LEDs too.
Yeah. Rick Euland, you actually made the Fast 232 pack back in the day, like in the 90s too, which is a 16550 based one. I'm assuming you must have had some of these around to test
I
stuff
had-
yourself.
Okay, check this boy out. My
He has
mic's
a-
been off for half the show.
He has a really expensive one. Those
Here,
things are
you want to
like
highlight
500
Rick there?
$500
Mark, is-
or something.
Yeah,
that people can see
if he quit moving around, yeah.
I'm
There we go.
trying. Okay, so here's what we've got. If you can't do it with switches, you can do it with jumper wires. It's got lights. It's got the old man chart on the side, so I can remember what all these pins do. But it's DB25, so you still need your big bag of 9 to 25s to
Yeah, I've still got some of those back here somewhere myself. So,
or a lap link cable, which had like connectors sprung off of all ends of it. And
I've got one of those. I have an actual lap link cable. I may be using that during December, but I have a network card, so maybe not.
because I know we've been talking on the show about maybe at CoCoFest actually having like some of the old games that actually had head-to-head modem play, etc. Like P51, there's Othellos and chesses and checkers and that kind of stuff too, and a few others. There was even some code left in Karate by Dicom for doing head-to-head play with the RS-232 that Dave mentioned during his interview as well. I don't know if anybody's ever going to delve into that and try to fix it so it works, but if you have a tester, it might be easier. But yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to get some of those things, like get a null modem cable together, and maybe Mikey could even demonstrate how you test a null modem cable with one of those testers at the show. Really
Yep.
interesting.
I can definitely bring my few small kits, because I have I didn't show it in the video, but I literally have a bag that has all these adapters in it. I have a bigger set and a whoops, I got too many things. I have a bigger set and a smaller set. So
Right.
I can just drop one of these sets in my luggage, and it'll add a couple. Actually, it's pretty heavy. I should probably put it in my backpack for travel so that it doesn't get weighed. But anyway, I have all.
What you
whoops,
do
I'm dropping things here, but I just keep them in a set like this. So
if you plug them all into each other correctly, you end up with one long string of adapters, and then you just pop off the one you need.
oh yeah, keep plugging and keep plugging and keep plugging.
Exactly, and you end up with a big stick.
Yeah. And of course, we use these a lot at work. Like if Bill Noble was on it, I'm sure he would tell, because he was actually the one that built all of our long cables at work when we had 8 serial ports with terminals all over a large plant, all hooked up to the CoCos. So we did a fair bit of that too. Then you can actually do multiplayer games, because you could actually have multiple terminals log into like Galactic Traders or something like that, and have like 4 players simultaneous. It's kind of cool.
So it sounds like at least some of you guys are interested enough in this that I should do a Coco specific one. So
I think so.
I can do that. I should probably slip something else in between, so it's not too boring. There was a Septendi video I was promising that. Did I do some record? No, I wrote the script for it. I didn't do the recording, so maybe I can do that this week while I'm playing with.
Because
PC
one
cards.
thing I'd like to see, like if Nick or some of the game developers that are around these days actually can see, some routines that actually talk with the RS-232, probably whether it's Bitbanger or the RS-232 pack, to do some head-to-head Coco games where each has their own Coco and their own set of joysticks and everything else, as opposed to trying to cram everybody on the keyboard, like playing a Gauntlet style game with 4 players but only 2 per Coco, so you can actually use full 2-button joysticks instead of trying to cram 2 people on the keyboard. Would be kind of cool, and just unique games that you could do with more than 2. if you get a multi-pack with multiple. Like I remember Alpha Software Technologies, Keith Alfonso used to sell the COM4 board, which was 4 6551s on one board, all with 25 pin connectors on it. And we had one of those at work too. So I mean, you can hook up to 4 CoCos to a 5th CoCo all at once in one slot, which is awesome.
And running OS 9.
The thing is, once games are written to accommodate exchanging the data between other machines, then serial port, network card, who cares? You can change the method of that transfer. Is once the games are designed to do that, then we're gold. You could.
Yep. Like literally, you could take the same code and maybe some minor tweaks depending how the drivers are written. You could switch it between the two. You might even be able to combine the two. You could have a CoCo the multi-pack with a network card,
whatever
and
you got,
ports and hook up CoCos both ways.
Okay, once you have that idea of we're going to exchange the game data between multiple machines, then all this opens up. So, game guys.
My recommendation here would be to use the DriveWire standard, which I think X register is the buffer and the Y register is the count, or something like that. It's really simple for DW read and DW write. So if you wanted to have like a driver concept where you could plug different things in, if you wrote
make it common standard between the different hardware.
DW init initializes the card, and then read and write are just really, really simple like that. Just buffer and length. So
and then you can extrapolate that and add further things later, but that would be the nice base standard that would work with DriveWire, would work with RS-232, would work with the network cards.
Right, because I'm for the DriveWire over the Ethernet card. Obviously, the driver I'm writing has to be compatible with that, so that it can be crammed into HDB DOS or Nitrous 9. So
there's a lot of opportunities there, and like multiplayer games. I know it's something that Mark has been pressing because he's what's that one racing game that you have on the Apple that you've showed a few times?
8-bit Slicks. Yeah, it's on the Atari, the Commodore 64, the Apple II, the Oric. It's actually cross-platform now. You can actually play multiple machines. And the multiple
machines are going head-to-head, and 8-bit machines. So that'd be kind of cool to add the CoCo to the list and show them who the real good game players are.
It's actually on their target is to have a CoCo client. So
cool.
Okay, well, thanks for all of the support and encouragement, guys.
Yeah,
really
I look forward to some of these upcoming videos, and really, really cool to see what can be done with the RS-232. Like you said, if we start making it a universal standard between the various hardware ways to hook CoCos up together.
Yeah, that's something that we can work on. But
yeah. Okay, so back to the regular news, and thanks again, Mikey, for coming on about No Ice and the RS-232 stuff. Actually, before I get fully started here, I just wanted to mention we've got a confirmation. Boise will be getting interviewed about the second decade of Nitrous 9 for the 30th anniversary. That will be a live recording on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, November the 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So if any of you have any questions, if you're able to make it live, you can actually ask in person on the panel. If you have any questions you would like me to ask on your behalf, just email them to curtisboyle@sasktel.net. And I'll do that. But basically, we're going through the part where Nitrous 9 got backported to 6809, backported to level 1. It became a bunch of tools for generating disk images and stuff that are still in use today. And basically, kind of covering it as it went to become an open source project from its original commercial, then freeware, which is where the original team kind of burned ourselves out after 10 years and passed it on. And basically, I'll cover stuff like a bit about DriveWire and talking about Toolshed and the original Mamu assembler that was used back then. This is some stuff that I don't even know that much about because I was kind of out of the CoCo world for the most part during that time period. So it'll be new to me too. Any of the people that are listening here that might have been involved at some of those earlier stages or know some more of that stuff, feel free to pop on too. And should be good. It's going to be some history that even I don't know as one of the original authors. And then we'll do a third episode sometime before the end of the year to follow up on when it became a really wide open source project where there's literally dozens of contributors helping with Dragon ports and all kinds of stuff. So looking forward to that on Wednesday. Anyway, back to the regular news. So Alan over at AC's 8-Bit Zone, and I can't remember, but he might have been in the chat earlier. He did a CoCo DVD update, and he's now selling them. And this new video that he released here kind of shows what it's capable of doing and also, how he puts them together. Now, we mentioned before that this will actually output a digital signal that you can then hook up to HDMI, et cetera, but it also has like hardware sprites and tiles and stuff. So it's actually not just an alternative way of displaying output, but it actually has extra graphics hardware for sprites, tiles, more colors in the palette. Like this is a Coco 1 or 2 running a Pac-Man that looks, pretty well identical to Glenn Hewlett's that he did on the Coco 3 or Nick's, port that he did back in 97 on the Coco 3 as well. So there's a lot of capabilities here. This is a version he's been writing himself. It's not fully baked in yet. I think the power pellets don't work on this particular version, for example. He also goes into you can actually do some of the artifacting colors in here, like he shows on Ghost Rush. You can do your own settable palettes, which he goes through. And then he actually goes through a little bit of the manufacturing process of how he actually puts these things together, which is more just for interest's sake. But he's actually selling these now. So any of you that want to get this will work on a Coco 1, 2, or 3. I believe it probably will work on a Dragon. It's kind of like the Super Sprite FM Plus board that is manufactured in the UK. That also works on Coco's over here, which also has a lot of extra graphical hardware. We actually got multiple standards now. Could be a problem, just like the sound cards. I don't know. But it's really cool that he's actually got them for sale. So if anybody wants to get into them and start programming them, he's actually got some sample code that he's been doing the last 6 months to a year, getting a lot of stuff working on it, and looks pretty powerful. There's some pretty cool stuff I've seen the Coco 1 do. I never thought I'd see a Coco 1 ever do. So anyway, check out the video. And if you have any questions, he is in our Discord, and he's also usually appears in chat here fairly often on there. So you can actually ask some questions here, possibly even during the show if he's in there today. Next up, James Diffendachter published, and we were talking about this earlier, about sort of mathematical based graphics demos is probably the easiest way for me to say it. That maybe not always be completely technically correct, but he released 3 of them. So this one here is a second version of this. Marer, is that how you pronounce it, James? If you're still on, I know he's got.
Sorry, what was that? I was getting lunch.
This is it pronounced Marar or Morer, or how do you pronounce this rose pattern thing?
It's after somebody's name, so you got me. It could be anything. Yeah.
I mean, this one particular demo, it's actually a very nice short basic program, and you've actually made a second version later in the week where you actually can set up your own parameters to change it. But it's kind of like a spirograph, as you'll see by some of these patterns.
It's you've got two numbers. I think one is an angle and one is number of iterations or something like that. And
yeah. So this is the entire program, and that's including like double speed pokes and some other stuff that is not really technically part of the program. So it's a nice short one, and you can actually do some pretty cool things. And as some other people had mentioned, these programs, I mean, they're both visually nice to look at because they do interesting patterns based on mathematical principles, but they also allow you to test floating point math in whatever version of BASIC you're running on various machines. And these are some like this one here is short enough. I think I'm going to have to try this on BASIC 9 and just see how it does speed-wise comparatively. I've done 1 or 2 other ones, which actually I'll be including on EOU version 1 for people that want to do the compare. I haven't optimized any of the trig stuff from what Microware's done. I do know that 6 through 9, there's some optimizations to do. Haven't got that far yet, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yep, it's easy enough that anybody can type it in. So,
yeah, and here's another one: the Archimedean spiral. Another nice, super short one. You can literally type this in seconds on real hardware. And this one,
somebody called one of the other ones Archimedes spiral or something like that on the name on the Atari, and I was like, that didn't sound right. And I went and looked it up, and nope, it wasn't. So I actually looked up what it was.
And then this one, I think, is one anybody who's been around since the 8-bit days in the late 70s, early has seen this type of pattern, because that was one that a lot.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right in the manual for the Acorn Atom. So
yeah, like basically once graphics were invented for home computers, this is one of the demos everybody seemed to do. And you also have a couple of different derivatives of it here, where you do get more or less detail if you want it to speed up and not look quite as impressive. Because these are still like, how long would this one up here take, for example, to run on a Coco 1 or 2?
Oh, I have no idea. 15,
Hours?
20 minutes at least. I don't. On a Coco 1 or 2, maybe an hour. But if you, there's a version that does, the loops are further apart for the dots, so it would take a lot less time. And that bottom one, it's just drawing the full lines every, I don't know whatever the spacing is, but that would probably take half the time at least.
Yeah. So they're cool little graphic demos. You can just type in basic. You just need, basic itself. You don't need a disk drive. You don't need joysticks or like that. So if you want to try it out, I think these ones were set up for H screen. So these are currently set up to be CoCo 3 resolution.
Yeah.
Like the 320 here, but you could change them pretty easily to go on P mode 4 for 256, for example. Which would be
there's definitions up to the top.
Right here.
Yeah. So
quick modification, you can run on a CoCo 1 too. You could even, if you have an MC10 with an SDC32X or the MCX
SDX or whatever.
Yeah. One of those upgrades that basically adds extended basic. You could even, view it on some of the P mode 1 screens. Next up, I'm just going to play this a bit in the background. Ken, you're still here and awake?
Yeah, kind of.
So this is part 2 of your cursed CoCo 3. And this is where the CoCo's curse extends beyond the CoCo itself. So if you want to do a bit of a recap and then what you discovered, and then we'll let people go to the video to see the rest of it.
Well, when I was first doing this, I, of course, had a lot of equipment failure and other stuff like that. And then once I got onto this part, once I removed the 6809 from the CoCo 3, I did end up lifting a couple of solder pads. So I rectified that by just soldering under the chip socket.
Yeah, bodged it.
I bodged it. But that was good because the ones that lifted didn't connect on the other side of the board anyway. So the problem was that as I went through this, every time I would test things, they'd be working. Then I'd fire it up and nothing would work. I'd go back, test again, and the stuff that was just working no longer worked. So I added a lot of bodge wires over time. And then I eventually had to get Sloopy's help with the doing some testing on the clock signals. But in the end, finally got it working. But
how much time did you invest in getting this thing up and running?
From start to finish of filming this video was just over a month.
And here you can see some of the bodge wires.
Yeah. The weirdest one was the clock signal one because it was actually connected at the socket because it connected to the cartridge port, but it didn't connect out to the rest of the board.
And by the way, if you're watching the video version of this, we just saw Ken's expression here. I think this is your third or fourth try of trying to get this thing to fire up. And then the sense of elation as it actually fired up properly.
As that green glow seared into my eyes, I was so happy.
Yes.
I'm blind. Thank God I'm blind.
I was thinking of quotes from the original Frankenstein movie. It lives.
Never so happy to see that green.
Yeah. But that's an exact explanation as to why I don't do hardware.
Back in the day, we used to have pin socket replacements that didn't have the plastic part. It was just a pin with a socket on top. Mm-hmm. And you stuck those in, and that way you could solder on the top and you could solder on the bottom, and you could make the vias, and you could fix stuff like this without having to burn your way in from the side.
Yeah, you probably noticed I did have to melt a little bit of the plastic to get in there, but that part worked out fine.
So is this machine still up and running properly today at this point?
Yep. Actually, I've been using it for the Game On Challenge the last couple of weeks as a test. So
that's a good burn in if it's been running games properly.
Yeah. It's been both live broadcasts.
What was that? I think of the Weird Science scene where they're playing the "It's Alive, It's Alive."
Yeah. And you shot this over the course of a month, so we're seeing clips earlier on that you did.
Well, actually, all of this stuff that I did at the second part of the video was all within about 4 days. The big part was the beginning part where my soldering iron broke, my camera broke, my microphone broke, my.
So what you're saying is what will go wrong in the worst possible way.
You were the Murphy's Law poster child.
I had so much trouble with my camera shooting this video, but I've filmed about 2 or 3 other partially filmed videos since then. I have not had a single problem.
Pro tip. Next time, if you have the shield off the bottom again, take a Sharpie and draw each bodge wire on the board to where it ended up. So if it ever gets ripped off, you can just put it right back on.
Yes, good idea.
But if you want to see the advancement of Ken's emotional state during these 4 days, when you start and he's got a kind of a little bit of a positive attitude, like, yeah, I should be able to fix this. I think I got it fixed. Then you turn on and nothing happens. And then if you hit reset, you can see a brief flash of a green square. Like it's teasing you, like, yeah, I could work, but
I could work, but I'm not gonna.
And then watching me getting more and more frustrated as he tries it on the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and then when it finally comes to sheer, it's like a balloon letting out air.
It's like, leave me in the grave.
But it was good because I think it teaches people that if you're going to be doing some of these hardware things where you're trying to repair 40-year-old machines,
you're going to
that it's not going to be smooth sailing. It's not going to be like you're going to see on some of these YouTube videos where they only show you the final fix. They don't show you the 3 weeks they tried to figure out what the heck was actually going wrong. Whereas this is an honest take in 2 parts of not only recording problems with other hardware that had nothing to do with the Coco, but just the Coco itself, and trying to replace the CPU and the pads lift off.
Yeah, a lot of people would have given up.
Yeah, I would have.
Right.
I would have given up, probably about 5 minutes into part 1. But
no, I was not letting a poor Coco 3 die. I was bringing it back to life.
Or to defeat you.
So what you're saying is,
exercise the curse.
Yes.
This was an exorcism, basically. Is what we're gonna get
at. Right.
60 says, or top
Okay,
tip,
my
do the work
connection's
within a
gone.
pentagram. That might have helped. Sprinkle some salt, get some candles around. Yeah. Play Black Sanctum as your test bed. Yeah.
I can't wait to do more upgrades to this board.
Better you than me. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, it's a really good 2-part series. It definitely shows you some of the trials and tribulations of trying to fix old hardware. And my hat's off to you and having the patience to actually do it.
It really does show that if you're not a super advanced person, you can still get these things fixed, even if you do mess up here and there. And
yeah, I think you did have some comments of saying you should have done this first from the hardware wizards, but you don't get to be a hardware wizard without going through this to learn.
Next one would be really good. Yeah.
How long before Pedro has the Coco 3 board out?
Yeah. Well, at the rate he's going here, Ken did enough rewiring here. I think he's pretty well got his own version of a Pedro board.
Yeah, pretty much.
His own Coco 3
I've got
motherboard.
one. Is that a proto or something? He sent me one of them.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Ken, for going through all that hell for us, for the benefit of all.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that it works now. Now, when I do my next upgrade, we'll see how badly I break it.
Okay, this next one here is actually something that I think people like Gene Heskett, unfortunately, never watches the show as far as I know, but he would probably like. So this is a guy named Fabio, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Didoni. So he released a quick video here, and I'm going to mute the sound here because it's in a really loud environment of just talking in the background. But basically, he uses his Coco 3 here using a program he wrote to program a lathe. And this was shown at the Science Fair and Technique 3, and it's a Spanish language that he's speaking in the background. But yeah, it kind of shows like he's got a cassette to load it. He's not even using like a disk drive on this here. And he's got a little custom-made program that does the parameters for the lathe itself. And this looks like it might be actually doing metal work lathing, not wood. I can't really tell for sure in the video, but.
And isn't it really a wise idea to have metal shavings flying all around a computer museum?
Well,
sure, why not? I mean, Ken will fix it up afterwards. So
that's why you don't have the disk drive. You got the cassette with the closed top to keep the shavings out.
Yep. So he's adding some parameters.
I'm sure a few metal shavings into the air vents on that monitor won't hurt it.
And there's the Coco program. Actually, control, put a little bit of noise in here.
Hey,
so it's spinning, it's shaving off.
We had a PC we sold to a metal shop, and it wasn't even in the same room, and it was filled with metal dust.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Fractals.
He's even got some graphical representation of how it's working in the background too, which is kind of cool. Anyway, for those people that thought Cocos were just toys or just for playing games, there's another practical use of one that you probably don't see every day. That was cool.
Yeah.
And I think Gene Heskett, if I remember, he used to control a wood lathe with his Coco. Was one of the things like he's supposed to. He's active in the listserv if you're there, and he was also active in Nitrous 9 too. Next up, we have Garrett Reynolds posted a 2-minute video on Facebook showing that he got his TRS-80 FP215 flatbed plotter, which is a multicolor plotter and a big one. So this is a big step up from the CGP 115. Does huge size paper. Now, when this got released in 1981, it was $2,000 US. So I'm imagining not many Coco people actually owned one of these because it would have cost more than a monitor, a Coco, a multi-pack, RC32 pack, disk drive, all combined. But he actually got it running. He's got some pictures here of it running, and he surprised himself that most of the pens still work. The color pens still worked after 40 years. The black pen did not. But he actually did a little bit of a video here of it actually running, so I'll play a little bit of that. You guys still seeing the video here?
Yep.
Yep.
I had a gray one.
For some reason it just stopped playing. I don't know why. Weird. Okay, pause and unpause. Oh, there we go. So you can see it's basically got an arm that goes across, and then the pen's on a secondary arm within that can move it left and right and just kind of tilts around and actually angles the pen as it's drawing. Sounds like a teletype. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now, Ron, and Ron's Garage fame, is this one of the pieces of TRS-80 memorabilia that you actually have?
I had it for quite a while. It was very heavy. One of my friends wanted it. I said, sure, I'll trade you. I think I traded him a computer for it. And he was happy. I was happy. I used it for a little while. I think
Now, did you ever use this for your sign business?
No, it's just for a sheet of paper.
So what size paper did this fit? Like I remember faintly seeing it in the stores, but I never really looked at it. So I don't know, is it bigger? I'm assuming it's bigger than 8.5 by 11. Is it bigger than tabloid?
8.5 by 17, something like that, or
11 by 17.
I can't remember.
Like a ledger.
Yeah. But there was a couple of programs that you could, run, and it would work away. It is just amazing to sit and watch, just like we're doing here.
Yeah. Is this artist book kind of 11 by 17 graph paper size, standard graph paper?
Yeah, it's tabloid size. We used that at work all the time too.
Yeah.
So basically 8.5 by 11s joined together in the middle, basically. Yeah, and it was multicolored, which I mean, for 1981, 82, I mean, that was pretty rare that you had a 4-color printer running, and with vector-based graphics, so it's not dot matrix little dots; it's literally drawing lines. So, and they even showed like angled text here. They had the word Radio Shack written in 4 different degree turnings, and then dashes and dots, and drawing a little bar graph and stuff. So pretty cool. The CGP 115, I knew quite a few people with that, the little tiny toilet paper roll sized one. But it basically did the same thing. It would go grab a color pen and draw it to. Is a lot slower than this and wouldn't do as large paper, but pretty cool. And like I said, I don't know anybody back in the day in our Coco Club or anywhere else that had this, because it's a hugely expensive printer. So the fact he decided to run on a Coco was pretty cool. Next up, we have Retro Tech Repair on YouTube. He's attempting to repair a Coco 2 that he acquired. And I will give a caveat that he notes himself in the description. He does mention that his videos are, and I quote, "an amateur attempting repairs." Sound familiar again? This is not a how-to video. So does that kind of summarize your channel as well, Ken, do you think? Or
Oh yeah, pretty close.
Now, he meant this to be his part of Septandy. It just got released this last week, so he's about a month late. So he kind of apologized for that. And he does manage to solve one problem, but he has another one. He's going
In
to have to fix
today's
it apart too.
RetroTech repair, we're going to be trying to fix this TRS-80 color computer 2 that I bought spares or repair on eBay.
Let me fast forward a bit here.
Sure enough, there is. There's a lot of noise on it, but there's something there, and it. Oh.
So he got it working on the screen. You can see that it comes up. He does some fiddling with the RF modulator settings stuff to get a clear picture. But then the keyboard doesn't work at all, not a single key. And he's replacing PIAs, and he's trying to see if there's any breaks in the Mylar cable. None of that stuff. Ended up, it was the CPU. What's the problem? Which was a bit strange and not a problem that I've heard of too often.
Huh? Doesn't sound right.
Especially since it boots up. Obviously, the ROMs and the RAM and everything's working.
That's
Yeah,
on
because
this
the PIA is
scope.
just another address.
So we'll get the scope connected up to those pins. Read write is pin 21. And chip select 2, which is active low, is pin 23.
Hopefully you
The other
hard
two
guys
chip
understand
select
this.
pins are active high and are tied high with a 5-volt supply elsewhere on the board.
And you just say this repair
It's
might
up to
surprise
voiceover
you.
me to explain what you're looking at now because the real me failed to do so. The top line on the graph is the chip select line. This line is active low, so when the top line is low, that's the time when the chip is selected and can write to or read from the bus. And as we can see, it's mainly high. That is the time when the chip isn't selected. We can also see occasional activity on the yellow trace. This is the read-write pin. This pin is toggled depending on whether the microprocessor wants the 6822 to be reading the bus or writing to it. But it doesn't really matter whether the microprocessor wants to read or write from the chip if the chip isn't selected, and that's what we're seeing here. The chip select, for the most part, is not active, and so the read-write commands from the microprocessor are falling on deaf ears. So the read-write line here on the 6822, pin 21, then comes across on the other side of the diagram. Read-write comes in here, and then stops briefly at the 6883, which I think is the SAM chip, and then it goes on to the microprocessor. So the microprocessor is selecting read-write, and then presumably chip select appropriately to select either the SAM chip or the PIA, which are the only thing it seems to connect to. So maybe it's the 6809 that's defective, the microprocessor. Let's try switching it out and see. So I borrowed a 6809 microprocessor from a Dragon 32 that I was also repairing, and you might have seen on the channel before, and I installed it in the Tandy Color Computer 2. So with our new microprocessor in place, the behavior is quite different. Look at that on the scope. We see the top line, that is the chip select line, dropping low, and then a read operation, and then we see the chip select line going high, and we see the chip select line going low, and we get a write operation.
Look at how much wider those
read
read lines are.
is addressing that chip correctly now, and I don't think it was addressing it correctly before. Could this
So how
be
the
the
heck
answer?
was any of it working right?
Well, the narrow
so I
ones
may
would
have been
work
a bit
for RAM. It's
interpretive
really
with the
fast.
scope work there. I'm not an
Yeah.
expert in using an oscilloscope. I'm just
Compared to a
hobbyist
PIA,
and
which
perhaps
is really
not a great
slow.
one at that. But let's see what the end result is. Yes,
Well, I wouldn't have thought that
fantastic.
one.
Yeah, well, that's why he said, like,
This
here
guy.
as part of the title, this repair might surprise you because I think it is not a common thing to go wrong in the way it did. And
I
it
would
be a
never have
bugger
thought to
find.
go there.
I'm gonna have to go watch that one.
Yeah, actually, if you guys can come back next week and kind of comment on it, because I
Comes
mean, you guys
Razor.
understand this a lot better than I do.
But in retrospect, those little bitty narrow write traces would be fine for RAM possibly, but a PIA is really slow. I mean, you got to wait for
I wonder if he put that faulty 6809 back into the Dragon. What it did there. If it worked in there, then that would blow all that apart.
Well, he did swap out the PIAs before that with no difference at all.
No, you could see on his scope, the old CPU was broken. It was doing a weird 2 narrow traces instead of 1 big fat bucket kind of thing. So there was something wrong there.
It was dropping
it
off
keeps
too
doing-
quick before it could select the chip.
Yeah, it had the 2 edges of the trace. A little narrow one, nothing. A little narrow one when it should have had drop down, stay down, come back up. So yeah, it's cool. Nice.
So like the SAM was responding a lot faster.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I got something that actually stumped the hardware guys for a bit, because you guys kind of
Yeah, that was
how could it be
cool.
the CPU? And the whale in the chat said, how could it possibly be the CPU before, we got to the explanation there. And then he was kind of surprised by that too. And Mikey said it does look like an interesting video. So I'm glad I found a hardware thing that's actually interesting to hardware guys, because I have no idea what I'm talking about when I get to these hardware stories. This one, actually, I cheated a bit and then pulled a story from this morning as opposed to cutting off at midnight last night. Basically, Ron Klein announced that the XWAR 1.2 package is now available for the Cocoa Pi. So if you have a Cocoa Pi, you can get that automatically downloaded. I know Karen had been talking a bit in Discord about 1.2. I think it's just bug fixes. I'm not sure if there's too much new functionality in 1.2. Karen, if you're still in the chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm not sure if there's any new features, what they would be. Next up after that, Robert Sieg did a post in the MC10 group on Facebook. He has some ideas he has for the MCX 128 upgrade for the MC10, as well as the MCX 32SD 4K and 20K playing machines as well. But he's one that he showed, I think, a year or two ago, that he was creating some utility stuff for doing graphic sprites and stuff, like basically editing sprites and tiles for MC10 games. And now he's going to kind of getting back into things again here. So I'll just read a couple of things he posted on Facebook here. He said he'd like to go over some few programs and program ideas. Most of the programs in question are done to some degree, like full screen project now with added sprite control. There are many ways a person can utilize this. Best for the MCX 128 because it has a bit more features as far as that goes as compared to even the MCX 32SD. Then he goes, the MC10 graphics tool, need to go back and rewrite this. Wants to implement Game Boy graphics tool compatibility because that's kind of what he was hinting at using before. We want sounds and sprites, keyboard, screen map connecting, etc. So it looks like he's doing some developer style tools for doing a lot of arcade game writing type things that you could do with the MC10. So we've seen a real resurgence in MC10 stuff lately, including the Inafuto stuff. We covered the game last week that just got released in that. There's a lot of opportunity here, I think. And if you have these tools ready for you that you don't have to reinvent these, I think you can actually make some pretty good games a lot quicker. So I'm really looking forward to see where Robert goes with this.
And in the chat, 60 says just bug fixes.
Okay. And apparently he might have some bug fixes to do for Jumpin' Joey too. So I don't think I mentioned that before, Nick, but Karen said definitely let him know what problems, if any, Rex was having with Jumpin' Joey because he wants to get them fixed.
Yeah, well, I might send him a copy. I just downloaded XRAW 1.2 and I was going to try it today. But yeah, I might end up having to send him a copy and test it.
Yeah, because he's pretty good at fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a fair bit of Dragon news, and part of that's because of the fact there was a Dragon show last week that we covered live. Big thank you to Richard Harding for hosting that for us, taking us around the show floor. Some of the stuff that actually happened at the show we'll be getting into. Some of the stuff just happens to be because it's a busy Dragon week. So our first one here is from John Whitworth. He goes, something new I'm toying with. This will be a hobbyist experimenter board, which will provide easy access to the Dragon's expansion port. It will also have a CPLD on board, which will be pre-programmed with some very simple interfacing code that will be able to use in native or MPI mode as per the Super Sprite board. And it's fully readable and updatable, so you can actually upgrade the firmware on that board. And he's got a little graphic picture of it here. But basically, this is to do prototyping of cartridges, hardware cartridges that you can do on the Dragon. I think we've had stuff like this for the Coco way back in the day. Now, as far as I know, and maybe one of you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Dragon's cartridge port is basically the same as the Coco's. I mean, it doesn't quite fit the same because it's on the bottom of the case, etc. So you might have some limitations to the casing of whatever card you're trying to use. But I think electrically this should work exactly the same, and you can actually.
It's identical. You can
Okay.
actually plug an MPI into the Dragon as long as you adjust for the height difference because the port is not the same distance from the table.
So if anybody's planning on designing their own hardware cartridges or even game cartridges, I would imagine this might be a good board to do, especially when you want to interface the two type thing. So this will allow you to do some prototyping without having to solder a whack load of wires like Ken did to fix his Coco 3. So he said more to come on this new creation. Any thoughts really received?
Hello.
Hey, Brian, your mic's working.
Hey, finally.
Next up, Julian Brown, who's actually doing the Pedro Pena thing, and he's actually duplicating the original Dragon 32 motherboard, has got his latest batch of boards to test with. And I'll see if I can zoom that up a little bit. Nice and clearly labeled, nice blue color type thing. But this is his project of being able to duplicate the motherboards because, like every other retro computer, they're getting more and more expensive to get because they're getting rarer. So this is a way to actually, make new ones, basically, as long as you can get all the chip parts. And he's got a few tweaks I know he's mentioned, and we've mentioned on the show before that, he's tweaking a few things so that you can get some more modern parts and not have to get everything 40-year-old part type thing. So cool to see that's still going. Richard Harding, who actually, as I mentioned before, helped us organize getting the live stream from the Dragon Meetup 40th anniversary from Wales, home of the Dragon. And here's one of the pictures they got. Some of the people gather with Richard sitting down in the middle there, and Duncan Smead's in there, and Gilbert's in there, who did some of the game programming back in the day, and a bunch of other people. Phil Harvey Smith's in there. Chris Poacher of the Microdeal Facebook page. So it looked like a really fun show from what we saw. They actually got the Dragon Beta actually up and running now with 768K, MMU, the whole bit, dual CPU. So I'm really curious where that's going to go. There's some pretty cool stuff you could do with that. And Tony Jewell also posted some pictures here, so I'll zoom these up so you can kind of see. This is also from there. So I made the pilgrimage to Kenfig Hill, the Dragon Data logo on it. And they actually went and visited one of the old plants where they actually manufactured the Dragon back in the day too, which is not unfortunately manufacturing computers anymore, but. And there they are with a bunch of boards. This is a typical user meeting. Everything's got no cases on it. Well, not everything, but quite a few boards, just raw Dragon board open, or case open up in the background there. Some of the original boxes and documentation. Even got a Tandy sound speech back, it looks like, over there too. And there's actually a program for the Dragon called Happy Birthday Dragon. I think it was meant to do like graphical little happy birthday things, but it was appropriate for the 40th birthday of the Dragon itself to put it right beside the Dragon. And they're showing some of the pictures from the show. We kind of saw these going by when Richard was touring through. You can see one of Ed's mini MPIs there. And this is special guests Duncan Smead and Richard Wadman's daughter doing the honors and cutting the Dragon's 40th birthday cake. So now I'm really jealous I didn't get to go because I love cake. There's the show floor with some of the exhibits all set up, putting some magazines in the foreground there. That is the Dragon Beta with a couple expansion boards. So this has 768K of RAM in it. Dual CPU, as I mentioned before. 32K ROM. This actually has OS 9 ROM, so it can boot much faster because it boots most of the kernel right off the ROM chips themselves, which is something OS 9 was actually designed in mind for. And they kind of go through in the comments there, but I mean, OS 9 is built so that you could load it off ROM, but if you find that when you go to the disk drive or hard drive afterwards and you've got newer versions of those modules, it'll then replace those in RAM and call those instead. So it's kind of like in the field upgradable, which is cool. But yeah, it looks really nice. I'm really, really looking forward to the fact they found the original driver discs with all the graphics drivers and stuff too that we've shown on the show before. Is really piques my interest. Next up, Robert Stokes posted this. Now, he unboxed the Dragon 32 for the first time in a few decades, as he puts it. And he has the Dragon Plus expansion board, but he has something else that I'd not seen before, which is an extended keyboard that apparently was sold as an upgrade for the Dragon back in the day. But unlike ours, which, basically added the extra 4 keys on the matrix, the keyboard matrix on the PVIA, actually added a whack load of keys. Including an numeric keypad built into the main keyboard. Now, Ron has shown the number pad that HGL made, that it was a little side thing that you plugged in and you had to the side of the Coco, but this actually has it built into the keyboard and fits into the Dragon case, which is kind of cool. So, or actually it doesn't fit inside the case, but it has its own little case around it. So it's an actually external keyboard with a lot of extra keys, including a complete numeric keypad. I've never seen this before on a Dragon or a Coco for that matter. So that was kind of interesting to me. I'm assuming it must be somewhat of a generic keyboard because there's a few symbols and stuff here. Like some of the keys have 3 symbols instead of 2. And then you've got like start, resume, review. So I'm assuming this is actually a more generic keyboard for, general terminals or whatever else. But it was sold as a commercial product for the Dragon that they mentioned in some other comments. So that was cool.
It's funny. Pound or pound on the 3.
Yeah, both versions. Or number sign, as I knew that other one back in the day. Copyright symbol on the 2 as well. Next up, another Dragon one here. So this is a YouTube page called Ginger Hippie Gaming, which I think is an awesome title for a YouTube page. And basically what he did on this particular show, because he covers a lot of different retro ones, he's mainly a Spectrum guy normally. But he kind of goes through a bunch of game systems and computer systems that he has, and he goes through some Atari 8-bits, several different versions of them. And then he does some stuff on the Dragon itself, which he mentions is one of the rarer ones out of those machines.
Going down the micros route again, and we're going to be talking now about, or just showing.
And I won't play the whole Dragon little clip, but
one that really gets forgotten about. Now you've got your Spectrums and Amigas and your Amstrad CPCs and the Focus going out. There we go. But most people will forget the beast that is the Dragon 32. Now, this computer is massive. It really is. But it's mostly hollow. What I've got on the side there is the cartridge port for it. And with the cartridge port, I've managed to pick up a Dragon drive. Now, the Dragon drive loads all the games from a memory stick. And obviously you can select your game for the little screen that's on there, if you can actually see it. And
anyway, I'll let you watch the rest of that there. But if Kieran, anybody wants to comment, like the Dragon drive that he's using there, like, and there's also the Dragon MMC and a few others. I'm not sure if there's like one that seems to be much more popular than the others. So I'm not sure what all solutions actually exist. I know the Coco STC has an option for doing the Dragon as well. So I'm not sure. One I seem to recall hearing the most about is the Dragon MMC, since it emulates disk drives and cassette. But I'm kind of curious on this one here, because this one I'm not that familiar with. So, Six, if you want to throw in a comment there, please feel free. And that's the end of the regular news. So I will stop sharing and I'll switch over to the gaming news. I'll get that done. Let me just bring it up. Okay, I presume you're seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jim Gary had multiple posts this week. What a surprise. So the first thing he did here is he's ported an SG6 version of Jeff Vavasor's game of backgammon. Now, Jeff Vavasor, as Tim had mentioned earlier in the show, is the author of the very first Coco emulators we ever had on the PC. He had a freebie Coco 1 and 2 one, and then he had a commercial Coco 3 one. And if I remember correctly, Jeff originally did that as kind of a side project because he was actually doing Williams arcade game emulators for the PC and actually used the same 6809 core, and then kind of sold that as a commercial product for the Coco 3. But basically, this is Jim kind of reversing it back, where he's actually taking Jeff's original code and porting this game of backgammon back to the MC10. But since he's using SG6, he gets a slightly higher res, 64 by 48. Instead of 64 by 32. And you also get, in that mode, you get some weird things when you try to print text characters, just because of the way that mode works without a SAM. And it kind of gives the illusion of higher res here because the vertical stripes of the backgammon board are actually done using the text characters. And then the 64 by 38 is the 4 colors remaining. So interesting visual. It kind of looks like it's more high res than it is because of the fake text characters he's using. And I thought it was just really cool that he, did a report of something that Jeff Vavasor wrote 20 years ago himself. So next up, he did another port. This is a game called Mosquito. This is also an SG6 game. And this is originally by somebody nicknamed Mr. Slump, or maybe that's his actual last name, I'm not sure. And it's originally from Mycom Basic Magazine, the January 1985 issue. Now, that was the NEC PC 6001. Now, if you remember the Inafudo games, that's one of the main platforms that they always convert their stuff to as well, which was a fairly popular system, I understand, in Japan. The explanation of the game there, we'll skip that. Now, as far as the actual game and what it does, he actually made a blog post that actually kind of compares how he implemented the semi-graphics version versus the original NEC, which was kind of a 4-color high-res. So he's actually got a blog post on that. He's even got some of the original scans of the documentation sheet that came with it. 16K required. And this is what it looked like on the original PC 6001. And I'm trying to remember, Tim, you might remember, was the PC 6001 one of the ones that actually did use the VDG chip? Because it kind of looks like it from this screenshot.
I do not remember. Sorry.
Okay. I thought since you fiddled with some of the Coco stuff, you might see what's linked to the 6847. I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones that actually did have a 6847. James might know too if he was on. Definitely looks like it. But basically, he shrunk it down to fit on the SemiGraphics 6. So that's his version versus the NEC. If you're interested in that one, you can go grab that one. He's got it up available on his site. And now this is a game we've covered before, but Jim has never done a video on it, and he's quite impressed with this game because people are asking about arcade games on the MC10, and this is one of his favorites. It's SUKS, Sucks, which stands for, what is it? Shoot Up, Kill Stuff, I think is what the acronym stands for. And as he puts on the screen here, for those audio listeners who can't see it, it says, "Thanks, Ron Davis, for a good bullet hell." And so he does a little bit of gameplay, kind of showing the game itself off. All in SemiGraphics 4, nice low res, but decent sound effects, written in machine language, so it runs at a pretty good clip. Nice little animations on the aliens, etc. One of the commenters
me of Astro Smash.
Yeah, and one of the commenters mentioned it's really nice to be able to shoot more than one shot at once.
That's a design choice, Curtis.
I know.
Short levels, or are they truncated?
Bob, I'm scanning ahead because I want to show what some of the other levels look like. That's like the other aliens.
They need a bomb feature.
And these ones actually swoop in. You also get to shoot these little things that are dragging across with letters in them, so you can spell out the word extra to get a free guy, which is a bit of a trope in the early 80s. There was quite a few games like Dig Dug, Mr. Do, and a few others that actually had it where you had to like capture the letters to spell. Ladybug's another one where you actually could spell extra for an extra man, or special, I think it was, for the mega bonus. So kind of cool.
A good pinball game.
What's that?
Like a good pinball game.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a lot of good stuff in there. That's a really good game, and we don't have a Coco version of that one. That one's exclusive to the MC10. So, Alderson Rector Computing, which I showed the video last week. Like, he normally covers the hardware type of stuff and basically what he's got for systems, etc. But last week he kind of broke the mold and went and showed color baseball. Unfortunately, he had it running on an RGB monitor with composite colors. So he did a correction video. I won't actually play it because it's just baseball again, but with the proper color set, and it looks a lot better. Next up, Bode and Aaron did their next release of the Coco Show, which was recorded a while ago, but they released it on YouTube. And this covers the Interbank incident, and they were very impressed with this because considering the date this thing came out in 1985, 86, or 86, I think it came out. It had a lot of features that were quite advanced for its time and not really been all done before in a single graphical adventure game, like having icons for moving around and the interactivity and stuff, and the fact that it runs under OS 9, supported a hard drive, which, I mean, even PC games were just starting to do that. So I'll play a little bit of the intro here and maybe a little bit in the middle, but definitely a worthwhile one. I think Alan Murphy, if he's still on the call, I think might have actually been there for the live recording too.
Find the code book and save the satellite. It's the Interbank incident on the Coco Show, episode 37.
I'll fast forward a bit here. Now, I want to mention one thing they didn't mention here. So it says copyright 1985. I think the game is actually released in late 85 or late 86. But it does have detections if you're running on a Coco 3. Now, the Coco 3 didn't get released or even announced until the summer of 86. Now, Spectral Associates, if you guys remember the old demos in the Radio Shack stores when the Coco 3 came out, the rainbow and the sun rising behind the mountains and stuff was programmed by Spectral. So Spectral was definitely working with Tandy way before the Coco 3 was announced. And this is a game along with Cave Hunter that they actually, because they had the advanced knowledge and they probably had some of the original prototypes of the Coco 3 itself, they actually were able to make some games that took advantage of the Coco 3 stuff, that nobody else would have been able to take advantage of besides Tandy themselves. So Interbank knew about composite RGB monitors. Cave Hunter actually used the palette settings to change the colors, kind of like Mr. Dave did with the Devil Assault we showed earlier. So it's kind of cool that if you look back at it now, that they had, the Coco 3 in their possession for testing at least 6 to 12 months before anybody else even knew what was coming up for sure.
And so even on this screen, they've got the not bright red artifact.
Listen, the Interbank Instant, now for people that
they also supported the speech sound card, which actually used it for sound effects, etc.
Recall that several years ago, myself and the Brent stumbled upon this little beauty here.
How many drives do you have? Which, of course, it actually in the manual tells you how to make it on a hard drive.
And I will go back and I will say that was what I would call a little puffy little piece we did that did really flesh this thing out. So when this came back up, I'm like, okay, good. I got another shot.
I won't play the whole thing, but they were pretty impressed with a lot of the stuff that's in there. It's not perfect, obviously, but there's a lot of stuff that was quite ahead of its time. So in some cases, like up to half a decade earlier than some other games that popularized some of the things that Interbank does. So they go into a pretty good history of the innovations that Interbank kind of snuck in that, most people aren't even aware that the Coco had this stuff way before the Amiga or the PC or Mac did. So get a bit of history there. And it's actually a pretty darn good game. I was going to ask on the panel here, I personally have not played it long enough to actually solve it. I've gotten fairly far a few times. Have anybody in the panel here actually won it? And there's multiple ways to win. It's not always the same game. And depending which character you pick, you might have different solutions too, because they have different strengths and weaknesses. Has anybody on the panel actually won a game of Interbank Incident? Or how many people? But
in hours and hours and hours, no.
Okay. And how many people here have played it a fair bit to try it out?
Yep.
I can say I have.
He couldn't do it.
So here's a challenge, Ken. We'll have to make this a game of the month or something, because it'll probably take that long to win it.
Well, now we can put VCC and crank that overclock up to 30 megahertz or something. And
yeah, because one of the issues, especially when you're playing it on floppy, even emulated floppy drive in something like MAME, is that it was quite slow. It's 3 discs too, so you have to swap discs all the time. Installing it on level 1 with a virtual hard drive would be the best option, I think, to get it run. Now, this is one thing I've been taking a look at a couple of the games. I can't remember if Interbank's one of them for sure. I'm suspecting it is. I know Cave Hunter, for example, it uses page flipping, so it's using double buffering. And that means I cannot get those to install with the OU. There's not enough system RAM, and for backwards compatibility, they have to put the low-res, PMO 3 and 4 screens into system RAM, which means 12K of system RAM has to be just graphics screens. That's without any processes running or anything else. And because of the size of the windowing driver to get G-Shell to run, there's just no way to fit all that in unless you make a completely custom stripped down boot file. So unfortunately, Cave Hunter will not be on EOU. And I'm suspecting Interbank might do the same. Now, if it only uses a single screen, I might be able to get it to work. I haven't looked far enough into it, but I was a bit disappointed when I found out that Cave Hunter, there's no way to get it run with EOU. You can make a Nitrous 9 level 2 boot file, strip it down, get rid of the windowing driver, just run the old low-res Coco 1 and 2 stuff and get it to run that way. And then you'll get all the advantages of hard drives and double speed and blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, it's just not one that's going to run on EOU. Sorry. Anyway, really good review of it and a really good history of graphical adventure games and where they were going at the time Interbank came up. Next up, Mr. Dave himself actually published a little video here showing the color hack he did for Devil Assault, where it changes the colors as it goes. We've kind of looked at this already here. I thought I'd play a little bit here with some sound, just so people can hear what the game sounds like if they haven't tried it. You can see the colors cycling through. So that was a cool little hack Mr. Dave did. And this is Mr. David Ladd's 1 hour long CoCoTALK Game Challenge official video, which I think was the one that Ken was already playing in the background, so I won't repeat it here. And wow, that's cool. Thank you, Firefox. This is another one that Dave did. Now, this is the one where he actually patched it for a TFM in one spot. So it's actually got a little bit of 639 optimization in it. Probably a bit loud. Turn it down a bit. I'd have to run the thing side by side to see how much of a difference it actually makes, and also to see what routines he actually changed. It does seem to be playing a little smoother to me, but maybe that's just bias. And it is using Mr. Davis' patch version for the color changing as well, so kind of a twofer. So thanks, Dave, for doing that. Next up, Paris Rat announced on Facebook and the World of Dragon Archive and on the listserv that the next batch of AGD games is out now, ported to the Coco and the Dragon. This, of course, is the game designer package that was originally designed for the ZX Spectrum. And because they have a graphics mode that's the same size as P-Mode 4 and ours, just they do tiled colors in the background differently than we do, but you can basically port them as black and white games. So this is pack number 58. So there's another 7 new games in here. There's Atlantis, Combat Wombat, Ghost Grunge, one called Sex on a First Date, Stickman Olympic Challenge, The Training of the Warrior, and Wizard with 2 Z's. And there's pictures of each of these. Now, I will mention this, the Sex one doesn't have anything that's, family unfriendly in it, so I will show those too. Atlantis has this nice, cool title screen. There's a selection screen, and then some of the actual graphics, obviously a little bit inspired by the Starship Enterprise, I think, there. So a space shooter. Here's Combat Wombat. It's Wombattering time, which is a play on the old Wolverine from Marvel Comics battering time type thing. And apparently you're an armed wombat. Ghost Grunge. Help Ghost find eternal rest by collecting his lost music. Kind of sounds like part of Rupert Rhythm to me. Might have to talk to your lawyers on that one, Nick. Sticky Man Adventures presents Sex on First Date. That's just the weirdest title I've ever seen on the AGD engine. And it just, it's pretty pixelated stuff. Like, not really anything to see. Stickman Olympic Challenge here, which actually basically looks like a decathlon or hyper Olympic style thing. The Training of the Warrior. And one where he actually took a bit of a screenshot of the whole desktop. Not quite sure why he parroted that one. And this is Wizard with 2 Z's. Now, this is one of the ones where the color mapping of tiles doesn't lend well to converting to Coco. It's recognizable, but because of the way the colors are set up, basically you would set up an individual background and foreground color, which in each square grid, and there's 512 of those on the screen. I think it's 512. But because you could flip them around to whatever you wanted, basically something will look inverse and some things will look normal. And if you to fix that on a Coco P-Mode 4 screen, you literally have to redraw whole chunks of it. I know because I tried back a few years back and I just gave up. So that screen looks a little weird. And Wizard, find your wife. She went missing when at the market. And if you're a wizard, can you just zap her back and not have to worry about it? I'm not sure. All right, all those are available. You can download the whole pack. And of course, Pear also creates his cumulative packs. If you are new to the AGD engine stuff, you can actually download one zip file that has all 58 packs. They average 5 to 6 to 7 games per pack. So there's literally, I think we're getting close to 300 games total now. I don't know, Ken, did any of those strike you as looking interesting enough to try as a game on challenge? Because I know we've done a few of those before.
I'll have to look through them. Actually, I've not been paying a lot of attention to these ones lately. I'm thinking, I should go back and look again.
Okay, cool. You'll definitely not be running out of games anytime soon. That's all I can say. Speaking of new games in development, so Lee Perkins has been actually posting multiple questions in the Coco group on Facebook. Sometimes it was like, how do you convert EJ graphics to a Coco, and how does the Coco's palette work and that kind of stuff. And he's been working on porting a DOS game called Peganitsu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. No, he says that this is a learning experience for him. So he says, don't know how far this will go, but I managed to load the tiles in the Coco 3, and he's using a 512K 6309, draw them on a 320 by 200 by 16 screen with a pretty good approximation of the default EJ palette. And the EJ stores its graphics quite a bit different. So And it looks like he's got a few tweaks. So here you can see, and unfortunately for the audio listeners, you won't see any of this. So definitely go check out the video or check out the Facebook post itself in the Coco group. You can see a lot of the animated sprites and tiles and stuff here that he's got showing. So he's got pipes, he's got the main character, he's got the snake that slithers around, he's got keys, diamonds, rotating skulls. Looks pretty cool. And then he got a little bit further on it in the comments here. So here he's got a screenshot side by side of his current Coco version versus the actual original EJ version. And it's pretty close. I mean, there's a few color differences that he's got to kind of remap the colors a little bit, particularly with the browns. The Coco version on the right here seems to be doing more of a flesh tone on some cases here instead of some of the more brownish. So he's got a few tweaks to do, but basically it looks pretty good, I have to say. And then he made sure the tile mapping was worked. So this is a different screen, and it actually mapped tiles identically to what the EJ version. So he's got that basically working now too. So now he's working on optimizing. He wants to get it running, I think at 12 frames per second as a minimum. And learning experience, but he's definitely gotten pretty far in it. Goes into some technical details and stuff too. So I'm definitely gonna be following the progress of this one because it looks like a pretty good game. I'm not familiar with this game. Is anybody else here familiar with that game on the PC? Sounds like a big no. Because I'm curious what the whole game is about. I'll have to take a time and look that up, I think. And lastly, this is a follow-up to last week. So last week I went to the CRPG Addict blog, and he covers basically any RPG games. He's covered Gates of Delirium and a few other Seventh Link before. And last week he was covering the Power Stones of Ard. And he was a little bit frustrated in parts and kind of trying to figure out what to do. And actually, by the time this blog was published this week, he's actually won the game. And he even mentions there's a sequel to Power Stones of Ard 2, which I've seen the manual for. Now, this one here, he doesn't give it a super high rating. And he's got a completed description of how he won the game and screenshots all throughout too. The maps are a little bit weird how they work. You'll have to read how that works. That kind of screwed him up for a little bit once he figured out he was okay with it. But there's a lot of little puzzles and stuff that you have to solve. And some of the hints that you get from some of the characters you encounter kind of present them to you in riddles or subtle hints. And there was some stuff like he mentioned in the previous one, he was having a real bugger of a time trying to figure out, keywords, like a lot of adventure games, like you have to figure out the right verb to use to get something to work properly or to perform an action. Sometimes it's not what you would think. I remember in a case like Sands of Egypt, I was trying to use decipher hieroglyphs and that never worked. And it ends up you have to use the word translate. And that gets a bit frustrating. I prefer adventure games where they give you a list of the keywords so that you don't have to guess what the author was using, which may not be how your brain thinks. But one thing he mentioned here, one of the characters in this game mentioned that the letter S is important when you're doing actions. I can't remember the exact quote. But it turns out that what that means is that every single verb of importance starts with the letter S. That greatly narrows down you trying to guess what the different verbs are.
Oh.
So he mentions here, like you have to sacrifice at an altar. And that S command is basically what hinted at that. So you would skip a lot of other alternative things. In order to win the game, you have to do the straightened picture to open up a secret passage because you see a crooked picture on the wall. So now that you know that all these keywords start with an S, it greatly narrows down. And then he got a bit more enjoyment out of the game, and that's actually how he eventually won the game and defeated the dragon at the end. Now, he has this grid of ratings that he gives based on different criteria. And so it kind of goes through all the different things. There's quite a few, so I'm not going to go through them all. Because there's a final score of 25, which falls comfortably below my recommended threshold, yet there's an extent to which I recommend it anyway. While it doesn't measure up perfectly to my ideal CRPG, it succeeds well in its own unique niche. I've never heard from the author, Bill Cleveland, but I suspect it satisfied his intentions. It's also worth remembering that the various color computer models were underserved when it came to RPGs, so owners would want a game that was long and challenging. Ard was only one of two that I've identified from 1987, the other being the similarly long Gates of Delirium, which is the Icon one we mentioned before. Ard is also a highly original game, unlike most of its color computer contemporaries, including Delirium, Seventh Link, Paladin's Legacy, etc. Its interface takes no obvious inspiration from any previous title. So it's a bit of a unique one. And then he mentions the sequel, Power Stones of R2, the Five Towers of Trafalgar. So it's one that he didn't give it a high recommendation based on his own criteria. But on the other hand, it had enough uniqueness to it that he does recommend you give it a shot. So this is one I'm going to have to try. I've seen it. I think Nick and I ran it briefly because we kind of stumbled on it a while ago on a shared Discord call, and I'd never seen it before. And it's mostly written in BASIC, if I remember correctly. So it's not the quickest thing in the world. And it's got this, little square that basically shows what part of the map you're on. But it's a fairly long, extensive game. And now that you know some of these tricks and what some of those hints meant, it's actually a solvable game. And that using the S as the first letter of every verb that is of importance to you actually is a pretty cool and innovative idea that takes out some of that frustration of trying to figure out what, you have to get at the source, try to figure out what the hell was the author getting you to try to type in to do something. That really appeals to me, that they kind of solved that problem in a different, unique way I've never seen before. Interbank did it another way. You just click on icons and the icon defines what your action is. You don't have to guess, get versus take versus, whatever. So anyway, pretty cool review. It's got a lot of comments already. 78 different comments have come in, including from some Coco people. So James might have even commented on it too. I can't remember. And that's all I got for the news this week. Mark, that's your cue to wake up.
Yeah. Okay, now what?
Unless Brian has something to announce that he came on the show for, I don't know. We didn't have anything else. I will mention once again that we got Boise coming on for a live interview on Wednesday. So if you guys are interested in the history of Nitrous 9 from the roughly 2002 to 2012 era, please join us for that. Brian, did you have anything?
No real announcements, just life changes.
Okay.
Are you selling off all your MIDI stuff?
He's living in his synth now.
No.
Well, that's a life change.
No, just Ron knows what I'm talking about. I'm going under the knife for heart surgery.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
And Grant's going in for surgery too fairly soon. So
with all of that.
He's going to get a
Found out last week I had a bum valve all my life, and it finally raised its ugly head.
I'm glad you're getting the surgery. We want you all
Yeah.
fully healthy by the time Coco Fest rolls around.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Could be.
So.
Anyway, that's all I've got. So unless anybody else has any updates or sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, I said that's all that I've got. I've just been focusing on other aspects of my.
Well, I think that your health is even more important than Coco stuff. So I have to agree with your.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yes.
Well, how's he going to
if
do?
I ain't around, I can't enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then all of you other guys can fight over it.
And anything from anybody else? I noticed Sloopy just rejoined, so I don't know if he rejoined because he had something he wanted to talk about, or
did I miss anything while I was gone?
No, we didn't even notice you were gone
show.
until just now. So no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Sloopy, you were gone.
Yeah.
The show's just started, hasn't it? I just woke up.
I just woke up. No, I apologize for not being here, but today is Missy's birthday, so I was spending time. with her.
Yeah. Well, David had to step away for a bit too, and Tim disappeared, I think, for a bit. And
Wait, if today is her birthday, what are you doing back on here?
yeah.
Because
Sounds like the doghouse to me.
Graham, go
we got,
on.
yeah, it's her 20th anniversary of her 30th birthday.
There you go. You youngins.
Yeah. My dad's birthday's tomorrow, so.
No, it's yesterday.
Or yesterday? Oh, yesterday. Yeah, that's right. His birthday dinner's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. So many birthdays, can't keep them straight. So.
Anyway, if nobody else has got anything else, I think we can end the show. I've got a hard out in 15 minutes anyway, so.
Roll the outro. Let's get it over with.
I had my brother and sister.
Hold blood, Frank.
and they were
This
able to
concludes
share
another
the
episode of CoCoTALK, the world's
liked
leading
it.
live talk show
Outro
featuring
ready.
the Tandy Caloric
Yeah, I did
computer,
have something, but I don't have it
and
here,
Dragon
so.
systems.
Ron, we should
For all
put
things
we should do it at
CoCoTalk,
Ron's garage
visit
next
us
week,
on
and you
the
should
web
show that.
at
That would be cool.
CoCoTalk.live.
Now, remind you,
We'd
we still
love
have
to hear
the
from
we have the
you. Send
Brazilian
feedback,
retro
suggestions,
computer show
even
will be live at the beginning of the show as
segments
well. But
to CoCoTalk
I don't have any
at
interviews or anything like that.
CoCoTalk.live.
And the Boise one, well, I think we'll pend it, but
Consider
we can wait
supporting
till
the
like
show with
the
a
one
purchase
show
of
after that.
merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon
On the
link on our
Boise interview,
website,
are we gonna
CoCoTalk.live.
run that in its entirety on the show?
CoCoTalk would not exist
Well,
without the
it depends
community,
on like
its
if the
cast,
Brazilian
crew, and
show like
contributors.
takes an hour,
Thanks
hour and a
go
half
to
or something fairly
Alan
long.
Murphy,
Like I don't know
Amigos
what
Retro
other go and
Gaming,
Luciano
Bill
have
Noble,
planned.
Brian Joyce,
Then I think we should
Brian
append to the
Weaver,
show after,
Curtis Boyle,
just so we don't make up
D.
5-6
Bruce
hour
Moore,
episode again.
Danny O'Connor, David Ladd, Eric Canales, George Jansen.
So this is more like a
Lee
pre-taping, I
Shows,
guess.
James Differendapper, Jason Reichert,
Sorry,
Jim
was that
Brain, Ken Reichert,
Oh, I like the
Ken
live
Waters,
shows, like when we did the Dragon
Mark
one.
Mosley,
Looking forward to the
Mark
Brazilian.
Overholzer,
So,
Mikey Furman,
I agree. Busy next
Mr.
week.
Dave 6309, Nick Marentes.
I'll watch it after
Nick Morota.
Right, if
Nick
it's taped,
Morota.
if the
Nick
interview's
Morota.
taped
Paul
afterwards,
Fiscarelli.
it's
Richard
taped anyway,
Borges,
and watch it after
Rick Adams,
everything
Rick
live
Ewan,
is done.
Ron
Yeah,
Inman,
since it's going to be taped
Ron
separately,
Delvaux,
I mean, we could just
Samuel Giles,
release. Well, I mean,
Sleepy
Stevie does have some of the
Malibu,
interviews pulled
Steve
out in a
Bjork,
separate little
Terry
sub
Steggy,
channel for
Tom
interviews,
C,
so those will be
and
ready
many,
for them.
many more.
By the way, we're
Please
our
help
voices
support the
finally
CoCo
coming out.
community. A list of various contributors and resources
Oh,
are
darn.
available at
Well, then I shouldn't say-
IMCoCoNet.com. That's
I will shut up now until the outro.
CoCoNut.com.
Not sure why, but Mikey says.
The original
Sorry,
CoCoTalk
Curtis, I
theme
didn't
song
mean
is
all that.
Copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler.
Sure you
The
Are you
new
sure?
CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2020.
Nick, it
by
really
D.
sucks when you're caught
Both are
saying
mixed,
something that you
mastered,
didn't mean
and
to go
produced
live.
by D. Bruce Moore.
So,
Coco forever.
well, yes, apparently we are going out. Okay, enough of the outro.
At least that you can edit and post. You can just post the outro directly over top the original outro, and that'll take care of the background for the.
Hey Mark,
podcast.
I saw was looking at the screen at the bottom. Yes, the reason why the sound was going out over the thing was both system sound and microphone was being also recorded on that scene.
Weird. I'll have to look at that. Okay. I guess that's about it for now then.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next weekend.
Yep. And remember, live with Boise on Wednesday for Nitrous 9 30th anniversary part 2. Live
Stay
from
tuned for the
Brazil
time.
from the Retro Computer Fest next Saturday.
And live
Yay.
Game On Challenge on Thursday night.
Correct.
Yay.
At what time, Ken?
8 o'clock.
5 o'clock my time. I don't care about
That'd
the
be
rest
8
of
8
you.
p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Figure out your time zone if it's not one of those two.
Mr.
And we
Schubert,
apologize for David Ladd.
have a good operation, Brian. Is it
Indeed.
this week?
Thank you.
How fast is that coming, Brian, if you don't mind me asking?
The 9th.
Okay, so it's coming up pretty quick. I
Yep.
can't remember. Grant said when
Will
his
be praying for you.
surgery was, but I can't remember what he said it was. Was it
Yeah.
another month?
The
out or
only
something?
fun part is that in order for me to have the surgery, I had to go to the dentist and had to have 4 teeth pulled.
Ouch.
With
Oh, and
all
root planings
in
and
like
stuff.
within 5 hours. Talk about a pain in the jaw.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. My jaw's hurting just thinking of it.
Right?
Oh, you want to kick? I can do it.
Push the button,
Okay.
Frank.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
See you all next week.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Later, everyone.